And we are here with some League of Legends action after some exciting R6 and some other fantastic games. I mean, we saw some fantastic, one-sided slops in R6 and some fantastic close combat, of course, and close numbers. And hopefully here in the Upsurge minor leagues, the opening to the playoffs, we hope to have some fantastic matches as well. Bringing this broadcast is myself and the most awesome caster of all. We have Orbital, myself, and Random Minion Caster. RMC, how you doing today?
I feel like you forgot my name there, Orbital. You're stalling for time while you're looking that one.
We don't talk about that. We don't talk about that. Nah.
Well, we'll move past that. What we don't forget is that today is when the playoffs start here for the UML. So that's definitely something to be excited about. And I'm super excited because we started the season in week 1 with Akuma Katanas on stream. And we're getting them once again here at the first game of the playoffs.
Yeah, and unfortunately, they're not coming in as the first seed, which we were kind of hoping for at the beginning of the season, right? We were expecting at least this team to go top 2, top 1, where they were, I think 4th or 5th place, that's or 4th or 3rd place is where they're playing at. And actually, they're coming in, I believe, as the 3rd seed. So a little bit rough for them. Voidless Knights coming in as 2nd seed, looking fairly strong. And I think this is going to be a pretty tense matchup.
For sure. And let's start with Akuma Katanas, because we've spoken about them before. We cast them week 1. They were 0-2. They struggled a little bit in the beginning of the season, and their roster was kind of an amalgamation of last split's Akuma Blades, the champions, and the Akuma Katanas. They've since then settled, and they went 0-2 in week 1, 0-2 in week 2, 2-1 in week 3, 2-0 in week 4, and they just flat out forced their opponents to FF in week 5 here. So they're definitely on an upward trajectory. They've got a lot of momentum coming into this, but they're running up against 2nd seed Nightless Void here, and they're from the Cloud division, and they have told me that they feel kind of robbed about only being 2nd place. They lost in the first week without their top laner, and ever since they got their top laner, or their regular starting top laner, Cuddle Snuffles, back, they've been winning. But coming to the playoffs, they're once again without the top laner. Cuddle Snuffle's having some internet issues. They've got a sub in the top lane, Toy, who's technically a support main.
Yeah, and we'll see how that one plays out. Of course, that could also make them much hungrier for the victory, right? Showing that it's not just a one-man crew, and that's something that I think you need to have in these playoff positionings, right? You have to have that ability that in case one lane falters, you have to have other people that can pick up the slack, which is why this is such a team game, and it's known as a team game. One person can't shine anymore as much as we used to have in the past. So very excited to see what Toy can bring to this team. But of course, you got to look at the rest of them, right? Drops, Sir Zepre, Wake, Tick. These guys are all hungry for victory. And I mean, you were talking a little bit, right? Even without their star top laner, you still give them so much credit going up against Akuma Katanas.
For sure. I mean, I don't know if I'd say star top lane. Metal is very, very solid. But they usually sort of look through the mid lane, through their jungle to be their primary carries. And they are pretty high tempo. So if they can get drops off to a great start, drops can certainly take over the game.
Yeah, and it's just we're going to be very entertained, and hopefully, you know, with all the MSI action, we've also seen some crazy metas, and I know teams love to adopt a lot of these kind of compositions right off the bat, and we've even seen some variations, right? The Varus has been coming out a lot more. Gwen has been touched on here and there. The Diana, of course, has been a big one, but can't wait to see what they bring to the table and what they have to offer here in the opening series of the Upsurge Minor League playoffs. So on the blue side, we do have, I believe it is Voidless Knights that will be playing on the blue side to start things off. Akuma Katanas on the red, and of course the two premier AP junglers, the Diana and the Rumble, band away.
Well, I mean, technically one more premier AP jungler right now, or is that Morgana? So we'll have to see if that gets taken away as well for now. But yeah, it really does seem like on patch 11.9, a lot of things have revolved around that jungle meta here, as well as the ADC pool. And it's interesting that the way it's affected the ADC pool has been sort of the supports. We've seen a lot of Karma, a lot of Lulu coming back in, and there's always that threat of that Juggermaw, that Jugger Jinx style compositions coming back in. We do see the Lulu takeout right now on the side of Nightless Voids. And I do want to note it because both top laners actually for both teams are being substituted tonight. And I mentioned Toy was a support main, but Ratios coming in for Akuma Katanas plays a lot of top and support. So Karma, Lulu in the top lane would not surprise me in the match tonight.
Yep, not surprising at all, but maybe aim more towards a support role for the time being. Of course, the Thresh to follow, so definitely pinching on that bot side, and the Tristana as well. So multiple bans thrown heavily into the jungle and bot lane. That does free up the Udyr, which has seen kind of a rise back in prominence since Morgana, Rumble, and Diana are banned away. So the return of the one-click menace.
And for drop specifically on the side of Nightless Void right now, Udyr is the most played champion for them throughout the entire split. Yes, Turbo Chem 10 got nerfed ever so slightly, but it's still a really strong pickup. You can always go with that Frostfire Gauntlet as well. An early Nocturne through for the side of Akuma Katanas. It is technically a flex pick, but I don't know if you want to show it so early. Nocturne into Udyr doesn't feel like the best matchup early. You can get invaded and you can't outduel the Udyr. And if you're sending it into your solo lanes here, there's plenty of time for the side of Nightless Void to counterpick that.
Yeah, and they have the options, and they're following up with a Kaisa over on Akuma Katanas, so sharpening their blades with another high priority, high output ADC. Of course, that isn't the Varus, that isn't, you know, the Caitlyn sometimes that we see, but it is still going to be a menace if you let it, if you let the Kaisa, you know, kind of steamroll into the mid to late game. Now taking a look over on the other side, we do have 5 seconds left before Voidless Knights, and of course the one ADC that has been left up is that Varus, so they're going to go ahead and lock that one in. We'll have to wait and see, of course, if that is going to be lethality or the lethal tempo on hit.
Yeah. One thing we can already start assuming fairly safely here is that Akuma Katanas are going for a dive comp. You've got a Nocturne, you've got a Kaisa. They're going to go in. And Akuma Katanas throughout the split have not really tipped their hand as to what they prefer playing. They've been incredibly varied across all their players in terms of their champion pick. So they've got a lot of versatility here. But that comp already, you know what they want to do, and you just have to draw some sort of counter engage here. The Alistair pickup right away for Tick on the side of Nightless Void, that's going to be huge because it's got so much disruption and it can hit multiple members trying to push down through the front here.
I wouldn't really be surprised to see Voidless Knights actually ban away either a Malphite or Shen, right? These are two champions that are well known to go in with the dive comp to set up a Kai'Sa, Nocturne, Galio to perfect extent, right? So if that is something that they are opting for, if that's something that, you know, Voidless Knights are a little bit worried about, that might be on their bucket list to kind of tick off on the bans. For the side of Akuma Katanas, though, they are looking more towards that victory, towards that mid lane to give Galio a potentially favorable matchup.
That we don't actually know if that Galio is necessarily mid. They can still flex it around here, and because Akuma Katanas do have last pick, they could potentially hold it to see what you're gonna do here. Now we do see the Orianna ban being hovered and the Silas being taken away from the side of Nightless Voids and Shen. As you mentioned, those are two very strong diving champions, especially when you pick that Alistar. Leaving that Silas up is real risky here. So let's see, is it going to be the support going to be picked up here? Mid. Okay, so that's Galus.
Oh. I mean, we've seen Akali top, right? We've seen it around. It's not, it's hard to gauge if it's so strong top lane now, if it's still strong mid lane. We have seen it played primarily mid lane. So it's still a semi flex, and depending on where Voidless Knights want to go, I'm going to see a little bit of your thunder potentially. I would love to see a Mundo come out, right? Mundo's still very strong. You have a double AP, and Nocturne tends to fall off, you know, towards the later part of the game. So why not pick that one up? However, it is going to be the Gnar. It's been, I think a lot of people on most desks and most analysts area have been calling it a stat check champion or a skill check champion.
Yeah, more of a skill check champion there, because if you're skillful enough to beat the Gnar, then you win that lane easily. But if you're not, then Gnar's going to run the lane. And the problem is, you mentioned the possible Akali top. I believe it was Detonation Focus Meet, Japan's team, that ran Akali as a counter into the Gnar here. So a lot of faith in your support turn top lane substitute toy for Nightless Void here. But you know what? We'll see how it goes. That top still could be counterpicked right now, and there are worse things to run into a Gnar, such as the Irelia or the Jace here, both of which are still open and available.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we want to see NA Jace here, but you know, we can always give it a shot. The Corki has been locked in mid lane, and that is easily oh, I just said it and I jinxed myself. We got a Jace, we got a Jace.
Technically, that could still be Jay's mid, and all that into the Corki, especially because then you've got the range poke to be able to match the Corki here. So we haven't quite confirmed where everybody's going on the side of Katanas, but we can see how the compositions are going to roll out for the side of Nightless Void. Very standard, very safe composition here. You've got great poke with the Varus and the Corki. You've got kind of good disengage too. If teams want to engage into you, Chains of Corruption can be used defensively. Trying to run to an Alistar is going to be kind of tough. But if you want to engage, you can do the same. That Chain of Corruption works both ways. And Gnar, if you're able to find a good engage into the wall, add objectives there, it's really solid. So Nightless Void's comp, they can do it all, and I love their draft here.
All right, so we love the compositions, but of course we do have to get through that early game, right? So I want to kind of pick your brain here. We were talking about, we still don't know where some of these players will go. We don't know where the Jace and Akali will specifically go. So my question is to you is, who is going to initiate potentially that kind of lane swap fiesta that we've seen sometimes, right? Teams trying to decide and juggle where they want their players to go. Is it going to be on Voidless Knight saying, hey, we want the Corki Gnar matchups to be perfect? Or is it going to be Akuma Katanas who are initiating, saying, hey, we need to make sure this Jace is in a good matchup with a specific champion? Or who is really going to be starting that dance off?
For the side of Nightless Void here, they're so standard, there's really no need to change anything up. So it's 100% on Akuma Katanas where they want to assign the various champions they have here. And really, it's only the top and mid we're looking at. The Akali and the Jace, where are they going to go? Galio, Kai'Sa, that's going to be bought. You don't have another option for support. And Nocturne jungle. Akali jungle is not very good right now. it can be done.
You sound like you tried that.
I didn't try it, but I've seen it on a few games. It does not end well. I'm not sure how Jace jungle works. I assume you can clear it, but again, it's just not better than that Nocturne clear here. So 100% expecting just be the solo lane question here. And to a certain extent, when you've got a champion like Jace, you need to win early against pretty much anything here. With the new items, you know, on patch 11, in season 11 here, yes, the scalings are better. Renekton, Lee Sin, Jace, champions that used to just completely be non-entities past 20 minutes, they can have an impact. But you don't pick a Jace for late game. You pick it for the early game. You pick it to dominate here. And Akali is kind of the opposite. Akali has been nerfed a little bit to weaken her initial laning and needs time to scale up. But once you hit that sort of 20-minute mark, that's roughly when all of Akuma Katanas is going to be online, wanting to look for those dives because you don't want to let the Varus and the Corki scale up too much into the late game.
Yeah, and that's you know, where the Jace comes out, and also where I feel the Nocturne comes out, right? This is a champion that excels in the mid to early with that paranoia being dropped. So against the Udyr, you were questioning it, right? This isn't a solo lane Nocturne. This is not a Nocturne. He's going to be facing off against the Nar Corki, obviously. So in this Udyr matchup, what is Akuma Katana's Arcanos gonna really be looking to do if he's already in a losing matchup?
Level to 6. That's every Nocturne's dream, is to try and hit 6 as quickly as you can here, especially when you're faced with the aggressive jungle meta, early jungle meta that we're currently sitting in right now, where lots of people can invade, can punish here. And that does mean that Akuma Katana's lanes might be left a little vulnerable, because in the 2v2, with the Udyr being on the side of Nightless Void here, they're going to have the advantage in most of these matchups. So we'll have to see. I expect Akuma Katanas to play a little bit more passively early till they start hitting that level 6.
And it looks like we got the Akali versus the Nar. So just like you were talking about, Detonation, Focus Me having some influence here over Akuma Katanas. However, of course, that was the Akali picked first. So Toy kind of saying, hey, we can check this as hard as we want and potentially still come out the winner. So what do you think of this Jace Corki lane then? It's not one we've obviously seen a whole lot since we have seen Jace traveling more on that top side. So kind of walk me through this and what we expect to see here.
Jace into Corki is still a Jace favorite matchup early. You've got better poke, you've got the range to try and trade back on the Corki, and you've got a little bit more kill pressure because when Corki has 2 skills, you'll have 4 effectively with that Jace transformation. So if ever Jace does manage to get onto Corki, that's a trade Jace is going to win. But if they trade from range Corki, that's kind of Corki's comfort level. You don't necessarily want to engage. You don't really want to interact. You just want to farm things up here. But as the game goes on, Corki will scale up a little bit better than that Jace there. The missile's starting to do a little bit more, and that package is going to be a huge point of contention. So for the mid lane, I think it's going to be more about jungle pressure and more about what Extorted can try and do to force Corki to fight him.
Yeah, and just kind of forcing it out, making sure that the Corki doesn't get kind of free farm in that mid lane, continuing up the pressure, maybe even rotating to help Arcanos in situations that might not be favorable. Finally, here on the bot side, solely kind of given that grunt work duty is the best way I can put it. When you pick the Galio third, right, and then you're kind of forced into whether do we flex it into the mid or do we flex it into the bot side, right? Do you feel this is a good swap? Do you think that they played it off well?
Not bad by any means here, and we have to remember that the Galio picked up after they saw the Alistar Varus, so they kind of know it's a possibility here. And in terms of support matchups, Alistar Galio is not terrible for either side here. If you land the taunt, Alistar either has to burn out or can't do anything, does get taunted. And Alistar is not about the auto attacks, it's all about the skill use. So there is some skill expression here, but for the most part, it's going to be a little bit difficult for Legoat James on this Kaisa to try and take control. If we do see Hail of Blades Varus, which is the thing that we see very commonly, the Hail of Blades Varus doesn't lose lane pretty much ever. The ability to trade back matches that of a Tristana here with those Blight procs. So I'm kind of expecting a bit more of a passive lane where Wake is just going to be looking to poke out Legoat James, and for the most part handshake. And then when objectives come around, that's when we'll start seeing the bot lanes get a little bit more active as they're struggling to get prio, the shove, to go towards those objectives.
All right, well, there you go. Thoughts moving in and some big brain plays coming out, or hopefully with the champions that have been selected. Of course, we will go to a very short break to ensure a quality broadcast for you, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with game number 1 between Voidless Knights and Akuma Katanas.
Sun shining, musiquita, a little rum and cola, pinchos. Chicken pinchos are back at Puerto Rican. Now with a new sweet and tangy rum and cola barbecue sauce. No mentirita, this sauce goes with everything. Only at Puerto Rican.
We are back here on the Rift for game number 1 between Voidless Knights and Akuma Katanas. On the blue side, we do have Voidless Knights Toy in the top lane, Drops in the jungle, Sir Zepri in the mid lane, Awake OG at ADC, and Tick at support.
And on the red side here, it's the Akuma Katanas here. Ratios in the top lane, Arcanos in the jungle, Extorted mid, Lagoat James as their ADC, and Soli as the support.
Oh man, and I'm already getting flame, and it's well deserved. It is Voidless Knights. I can't believe I mixed that up. So okay, someone's trolling me. It is Nightless Voids. I'm getting trolled by my production. This is the only time I'll say it. Totally not the caster's fault. Remember, guys, it's never the caster's fault. All right, but on the way into the openings. Oh man. I'm gonna lose my mind off of this. We do already see some dancing of the junglers, and first off, the ward over on the top side red, kind of signaling we might see some just vertical jungling.
Potentially here, and I think it might just also be Drops trying to track where Arcanos is going to go, because we talked about this before, right? The fact that Udyr is that stronger duelist between Nocturne and Udyr, and if you can slow down Nocturne, that's going to be huge, not just for just the jungle, but also more for the lanes, because the later he hits level 6, the later it is before that paranoia starts to kick in, and maybe we do get more of a Nightless Void than a Voidless Knight, eh?
All right. This is gonna be the entire broadcast, and it's well deserved. But we do need to talk about something, as we do actually have the lane swap. So the Jace did move into the top side, which is a little bit surprising. It was done quite quickly, so no time lost. But does this change anything with Ratios and Extorted?
A bit, because no matter which lane Ratios goes to, it's going to be a bit tougher pre-6 for the Akali. So it looks like rather than trying to slow down the Corki, they're focusing more on the Gnar, which to me makes more sense, because Corki's just going to scale. Even if Corki struggles a little bit early, it's a-okay. Whereas the Gnar, Gnar can actually win quite early on, so if you can make sure that Gnar isn't dominating the lane early, it makes it so much easier later to deal with it. And with the Jace, with an Akali, both your side lanes are very well equipped to handle that Gnar.
And Extorted already bopping heads on the Gnar, just saying, nah, we're not playing today. Ratios going in to also try a little bit of damage and gets a nice electrocute proc, and Sir Zepri loses half of his health.
Zepri's got to be a little bit more respectful of that shroud there. You can't afford to step up into melee range, or Akali will be able to abuse you. We did not get vertical jungling, both sides cleared, and it looks like the junglers aren't really looking to interact. Instead, Drops might be looking to make something happen bot side, but it is warded in the tri-bush.
Yep, early ward coming out for Lagoat James and Soli, which I think is very, very smart, right? You know, this is an Udyr that wants to gank early, that wants to start applying pressure and try, and get some advantages over this Nocturne. Tick, of course, went in a little bit, but not much has to be said.
A little bit of trading there, trying to take advantage. They also did have the level lead from the zoning out that Soli and Lagoat had to deal with when Udyr showed up. But this is still a win right now for Akuma Katanas. They don't lose anything, and Arcanos wasn't interrupted whatsoever, was able to farm this, did even pretty much with the side of Drops here. And another 2 levels, that's all they're looking for. Hit 6, and then that's when Akuma Katanas get to start making some moves.
And with how quiet it's been, I want to ask you, considering it seems like all the lanes are kind of play, except for bot lane, of course, which might beg the question almost. Where do you see Arcanos really laying down that first gank, as that will be, a huge priority for him?
I think top lane is the most viable target right now. We're already seeing Toy is struggling into Extorted, is getting low, and the next time that Mega Gnar goes off, if Arcanos has Paranoia, that's the lane I want to see you visit. There's very little counterplay, and you'll have to burn Flash at least, if not just outright die there.
It is an opportunity, if not wasted, and Tick and Wake hoping to lay down some extra damage. But of course, with the dragon coming up in just 8 seconds, you can't push too far. That will be an Ocean Drake first. That's gonna be a nice one to go for if you can collect it early, really help buffer through this early game.
And right now, because of the way Wake and Tick are the ones running this bot lane, the advantage is with them. They didn't want to shove right then. They were trying to wait for drops to be in a better position. And then I think we start to see them shove now as we see drops in the area for that dragon. Akuma Katanas, they see drops coming in. They don't care here. They're just going to give this up because they're just buying time for that level 6.
Yeah, that's their whole prerogative, like you said. So sacrifice a little to gain a lot at the end. Of course, that is level 6 for Sir Z pretty early, and that means he should have the missiles up, be able to aggress on ratios that much more. And he does have exhaust, which is something that has to be said. That's going to be a headbutt pulverize going in. Nice dodge out, so Sully goes straight into the middle, which might not be what he wants. Tick goes ahead, takes quite a bit in damage, and everyone backs out none the wiser.
Though, and if they manipulate this wave right here, Akuma is going to be in a perfectly fine situation. I'm actually a little surprised that Wake and Tick have not tried to pull off a cheetah recall at this point yet to go for an early back, but I guess they're just getting so much pressure.
Oh my gosh, so much damage. Wake actually chunked out solely for free. I might add, for free in that bottom side.
Absolutely brutal to watch. Now Arcanos right now is almost level 6, just needs a couple of minions, actually opting to recall. I was expecting to see Arcanos try and leech some experience top lane and then unlock that level 6, but he's effectively unlocked this point. Mid lane exhaust.
Yeah, Ratios went ahead, just jumped right in with that ultimate, but the exhaust deterred it out. Remember, Ratios went ahead and recalled and used the teleport in, so both flashes are the only remaining summoners in the mid.
And that's going to be scary for Sir Zephyr because Ratios doesn't need mana, runs off energy here, so is healthy enough. That's the only resource they really need to watch. And Toy getting bullied out. Arcanos being bot side means they might just pull the trigger bot lane instead of top lane instead.
Now they're actually going all the way in. That's a flash in and a hard dive, but they are immediately countered by the paranoia disaster striking here for Nightless Void. They do not enjoy what they found in the dark as Akuma Katanas take 3 for 1 and start crushing this gold lead.
Question what Nightless Void were trying to go do down there. Drops is 6. You've got to know that Arcanos is pretty much dead even there, and then you're diving a turret as well. Great play from Lagote and Soli's taunt to buy time there. Yes, Soli went down, but that's a sacrifice you're willing to take. It nets you 3 kills in exchange.
Yeah, and you have to feel there was a chance. Wake and Tick were not level 6. They did not have the ultimates available. They really hard forced that, wondering if they could, kind of catch Lagote sleeping, but Sir Z now has to burn his flash as well, so Ratios pretty much has a free setup here in the mid lane.
Gonna feel pretty bad right now for the side of Nightless Void. I do also want to point out that Extorted TP down and lost a couple of waves, but it's still up CS. That was how dominant the Jace was, and we spoke about how Jace needs and wants to get ahead early. I think we can safely say that Extorted right now is definitely dominating on this Jace. And that means Toy and Sir Zephyr, where are you going to go here? The Akali, the Jace, either matchup's not super great for you, and both of them are ahead. So if Akuma Katanas want to go for Herald, there's nothing that Nightless Void can really do to contest it.
Yeah, can't do too much. So we do see Arcanos kind of rotating over towards that top side, playing in the Fog of War, but Ratios goes in, actually hits a minion, I think, but still has a follow-up second charge. Tick is here to body block it off. He's gonna get the headbutt pulverized once again. Try and get a little extra damage as a rocket kind of tags Ratios on the back end.
And while this was happening solely, unfortunately, not able to do anything because Wake on this Varus is very safe. So Tick getting some really solid roams off. Now Paranoia is up once again for Arcanos, and I feel like that is a cooldown that we need to watch because it's basically a timer for Akuma Katanas. Anytime that is up, pardon me, you can make a play in any of the lanes.
You can make a play anywhere, but opting for none. However, Ratios getting stopped. So Zephyr, this might be a bad time though. Jump in and another electrocute. Ratios starting to rule this mid lane. As much as we love the fluffy Corki, it's really not helping right now.
Arcanos looking a little bit, but that ward's doing a lot of work in that bush right there, and there was no suspicion from Akuma's that the ward was in there. So for now, Arcano's wasting a bit of time. Drops trying to make some plays.
Oh, the dodge by Go James being his out. Got free. Only use the ultimate. Now they're following through. That's going to be the dive right in. Solely might have zoned out Tick, who is going to take one last tower shot. Wake able to get in, get one last shot. So there's a trade of 1-for-1, but expending so much on the bot side. Oh, they narrowly clean that one up. Nightless Void come away with the ADC kill.
Look at what's happening top side. Extorted is just able to free fire on this turret. The last time Extorted TP'd, they lost 1 plate. Toys having to teleport, they lose 2.5, maybe even 3 if Toys does not just run immediately top. And if Toy does run top here, then that should give Akuma Katanas enough priority on this second Drake, on this Cloud Drake, to be able to take it without contest.
Yep. You can see him rotating over right now. Drops is in the vicinity. And Nara's heading top. He doesn't have TP, so this is a 4.
Sure.
No, it's going to be a 4-on-4 as Extorted doesn't have TP either. That's why Toy actually felt confident doing that. Dragging down to about 50% HP. Solely being told to go in, and Drops is actually soloed out. Ratios cuts through Tick like soft butter. Flashing into one more 5-point shuriken throw. It will claim the dragon and a kill. Akuma Katana is happy with their ill-gotten gains.
I was a little hesitant, wondering why Akuma was just letting Nightless Void start that one up there, but they had it all under control, knowing that even if Nightless Void starts that up, even with the package available for Zipri there, they're simply just not quite ready to handle it. And now we're starting to see some mythics coming through. Extorted with that Eclipse here means that this top lane is basically unplayable for Toy.
Yeah, unplayable indeed. He did go ahead, pick up those boots. A little bit extra, but of course, you were talking a little bit about the mythics, the Eclipse already in. That's going to be a slam down, a little bit throw against the wall. Only a quarter chunk of damage as Extorted goes ahead and starts healing right back up. Tick now rotating onto the top side. This might be a 3-on-1 dive.
Risky. Akino still has Paranoia.
Yep, and that's going to go ahead and knock it down. Galio rotating through now as well. So this could be a party on the top side if Nightless Void are not careful.
They saw solely mid, and the moment you see solely mid there, you kind of have to abort any idea of a dive top lane. They also have vision on Arcanos, but if you don't, then you've got to assume Arcanos is in the area with the double globals there. It's not viable. They do get to pick up Herald, vision on it, getting cleared out by Solely right here, but there's just no answer here because Ratios is still in lane, because Extorted doesn't have to help out. It doesn't cost them a thing to try and start this off.
Well, they're definitely gonna try. It looks like Akuma Katanas have a pretty fair handle on it, down to about 2.5, and the rest of Nightless Void say, yeah, we're not dealing with that today. Down it goes. Arcanos is going to add one more piece of an attack arsenal. That's going to be a jump in, though. Very nice chain of corruption. Slows down Ratios. Wake, though, still taking quite a bit of damage. Able to stave off the bot lane death.
Use it really proactively, but Ratios...
Oh, yeah, Ratios went in a little bit too far. Might not be able to get out. Goes into the shroud, dances out with the first charge of the R. Able to get over the wall with the second just in time. Stepped up just a bit too far.
Clean with this Akali. I've been pretty impressed so far with the Akali play here. Now mid lane Solely should be fine. So Zipri just doesn't have enough damage right now. Nightless Voids looks like they're kind of just getting run over by Akuma Katanas right now. But that is unfortunately how their comp's going to work. They need some time to skill up. They need Sir Zipri and Wake to get some items. Then they can start that poke here. But until then, Akuma Katana is going to be able to run roughshod over them. And the other thing I'm watching is for when those turrets go down. Because if Nightless Voids insists on staying in separate lanes, they don't really have winning lanes in any of their lanes. Bot lane's the closest they've got. And that's kind of even. They need to start grouping up so that Extorted can't just punish 1v1. So that Ratios can't keep looking for these picks.
Yeah. However, I do want to talk about something. It feels like so far, of all things, Nightless Void have actually been able to at least stave off any massive paranoias, right? I don't think we've seen a single one.
I think the first one into the bot lane was the only one we saw, and that was really a counteractive one to that dive. But yes, for the most part, they've done a great job here. And part of me feels like it's more on Arcanos to be holding that paranoia and not using it, rather than the vision necessarily being put out by Nightless Void. So maybe Arcanos, I'd like to see some more proactive paranoias being used here.
Yeah, maybe just, you know, the mind games that you can play with that type of ultimate when you're this far ahead, right? We're taking a look at the gold right now. It's about 2.5 in favor of Akuma Katanas. When you have that kind of firepower in your back pocket, you do have to be worried. You do have to be a little bit more cautious. So knowing it's still up, knowing that he could go anywhere right now and still be a threat, that's going to be the Rift Herald dropped in the mid lane very early on.
Intentional. They don't have to set up for this, right? There's no way what at all. And Shelly, poor Shelly.
Yeah, poor Shelly, I don't think is going to make it. Might get one charge off, but that's about it. Does get a knock in just as the health bar falls, but we didn't get to talk about it. Infernal Drake is going to be coming up here in just 40 seconds. I love whenever we get to see Infernal Souls, because that means a heck of a lot of death is sure to follow.
I'm still just shocked that Shelly actually reached that turret with no minutes and into 3 members of Nightless Void here, getting the charge off as well. And topside, Extorted is just punishing a way to help this setup for this dragon. With the amount of pressure Extorted is putting down, Akuma get to basically set up for free bot side right now.
Yeah, that's going to be another tower, or first tower in their pocket, which means Extorted really gets to go back, have a massive farm lead. You can take a look. He's already 50 CS up. That also equates to a full 2k above his lane opponent. He's backing with 1100 if he does choose to back here. However, I don't think he can. That's actually a burn teleport coming out of Toy straight into the pit. Meganar is up, so the timer is ticking.
Yeah, and I mean, that Mega's almost down right now. They just need to wait a little bit more longer. Paranoia coming through.
When did he get this steal? Even though they get down against 3 men against the wall, it doesn't matter. They're going to get chunked down. The health bars are quite low, but this might be the cleanup that they want. Toy is going to get run down by the Akali. They flash it. Extorted flashes in to help. Sir Zepri, though, is still very healthy, and they all peel away. Drops is going to try and chase down the ADC. He is going to stun him up, and look, go James is going to get Gatling gun to death. A 4-3 is the kill score, but Dragon crucially went the way of the Blades.
That was a steal and a half there. We're talking about that Paranoia. I guess, yeah, Arachno's strategic use of the Paranoia, not tactical. Doesn't care as much about the kills as they do about the objectives. And it's hard to argue with the results. It will, however, cost them this turret, as they did lose that fight here. And it looks like Nightless Void starting to come online a little bit more. We're seeing Proud Claw for the side of Wake here. We discussed it, I believe, last week about why Prowler's Claw over the usual Duskblade here, having more lethality. And Sir Zepri with the Essence Reaver as well. Once that 2-item power spike comes through, I think Nightless Void, the 2,000 gold gap is not going to be significant in about another 5-10 minutes.
Not going to be significant at all. Just something to kind of keep eyes at. But of course, you know, fire always helps when forging your blades. The Katanas are happy with that steel, and they're still up a decent amount. And of course, most notably is Extorted still up and above. Toy was able to pick up a couple of assists, right? But still waiting to finish his mythic, whereas 2 items. Extorted building up that mana immune, and I mean, he is going to be laying into this Gnar.
They left Extorted in this top side here to continue laning against Toys, and I have mixed feelings about this because you already have won that lane here, and now Extorted will have to push up if you want to keep pressuring that lane, and that's going to leave Extorted very vulnerable. I feel like Ratios might have been the safer pick to send to the top side. We've already seen Ratios pull off some amazing escapes. And for Nightless Void, we talked a bit about in the pregame Drops and Sir Zepri. These are the two who usually get the action going. And after that last fight, Drops is now 3-1-2. Sir Zepri 2-0-2. While the gold says Akuma Katanas are winning, I think Nightless Void is fairly comfortable with the position where they're in right now.
Yeah, they're in the right spot. They're still building their leads. And yes, the steal happened, but that was still a contested fight, right? You still came away with 3 kills and 4 kills. And honestly, I feel if they chased, as Sir Zepri actually felt like following, they could have cleaned it up much more, right? That could have been a full ace. That could have been, you know, this massive damage source. Bot lane is going to go ahead and finish up. Drops goes ahead, steals away the red buff. And second tower for Akuma Katanas might be here on the bot side.
I'm somewhat confused at the back timings of Wake and Tick here. They just abandoned their bot side and they were going to lose it. And I've mixed feelings because I don't understand why they backed, but it worked out because they're looking for a gang. And if they had stayed, they would have died. But because they back off, they do only just lose the turret, which they were going to lose anyhow. Gold still going in favor. So Katanas right now, it's now a 3k gold gap. And I know I said, in 5 minutes, 2K not going to matter, but 3,
Ooh.
that is an issue. Ooh, reset on the red buff.
Yeah, Arcanos was actually able to force him too far into that bush and actually reset the red. So, he's taking that little cheeky win for what it is, which is just an annoyance.
Pretty much here. Okay, so Orbital, we're in a sort of a limbo state right now. Interestingly, neither team has been very, very aggressive. Akuma did manage to get a bot lane turret at this point. We are past the mark. Baron is up, no more Herald, so harder to take. And now Dragon becomes the main objective here on the map in a minute. So we get this time to look at the gold, and you mentioned the top side. There's still a huge difference in the top side, but mid lane, Serzipri, who was being bullied early, now has that 1,000 gold lead, and that to me is pretty significant.
Yeah, he's happily been farming up about 40 CS and also picking up those 2 kills, right? That had to be pointed out. Picking up 2 kills in that last fight, able to kind of scale up. You were talking about it, Serzipri and Drops being the 2 carries. This is the point to do it. Still have to wait for that mythic, of course. Has the fully stacked mirror mana, has that essence reaver in pocket, so already building up very quickly. I do want to see him. I do want to see the team play around the package, though. That is my big want for the side of Nightless Void.
And I was gonna mention, someone who is struggling a little bit in terms of the itemization is Wake right now. Just picked up a tier, and we're almost at 20 minutes, and there's 75 stacks. Is definitely behind the curve. So Wake now is going to be significantly behind, and it has to be around Serzipri, package or not.
Ooh.
The team has to play around.
That's an early teleport called by Akuma Katanas. So they are hard saying that this is the play. Richard was dropped mid a little bit later than the previous one, so this might be the collapse that they want. Ratio's caught between a rock and a hard place, tries to dodge out, gets knocked out. They're gonna dive all the way in, and quick burst comes out as Nightless Void take the initiative. They're gonna go ahead, taunt out the Corki as Corki is shut down. Follow through onto Arcanos. He is getting flamed up by Drops, who's gonna quickly turn it around. No smite take, couldn't find the knockup. Sully though is knocked out of this fight. Health bar extremely low. Only the mid laners die in a furious exchange of blows. Dragon now going to be started up, as it looks like it is Nightless Voids to take.
And Arcanos are too low here. You can't really contest this unless you get an amazing shock blast, but Extorted, well,
yeah, they're gonna try. Tick gonna go ahead and knock him up. No ultimate, and that's gonna be taken. Now the follow kills might have put Akuma Katanas in a lot of danger. They grant over 2 more Arcanos running for the hills, which might make it 4. Disaster strikes once again. Akuma Katanas, their blades are shattered at 22.5 minutes.
Somehow surviving against this huge blast cone is going to get you to safety, but here's the problem. Look at where Toy, Tick, and Wake are. They weren't waiting around. They weren't chasing. They went straight to Baron, and Arcanos has to recall, then come all the way back in. I don't know that Paranoia is still up, but if you have to walk there, if you don't have the vision, I don't know if you get there in time.
Tick walks away with 50 HP, and I love seeing that. It's just very entertaining to myself. However, we are going to see Ratios and Sully trying to instance out. 3k left, 4 on 2. They're going to look with the Mega Gnar. In goes the Paranoia. Can't find it. Gnar gets the smite. Here comes the ensuing fight. Once again, Ratios gets the assassination on the backline, but Stolies is going to go ahead and fall to the might of the Corkies. Serzipri makes it 5 on the board with the Baron. Nightless Void running the show here in the latter half of the game. Oh, that's a flash forward. One more on attack, Troy. Toy living with a sliver.
I don't think Toy gets out of this one here. You're kind of caught.
Listen. Arcanos did for a little bit. This might be the chance. Is he going to get away? A lot of health regen. Oh, no. Okay.
I mean, Extorted has that Toy's number all game long. I think it's only Extorted gets that extra kill now. And frankly, in the grand scheme of things, kind of doesn't matter. Nightless Void just flipped the game on its head. They were down 3, starting to become 4,000. They get Dragon, and I questioned Akuma's re-engaging with low health Arcanos, low health Sully. It cost them a lot more than just giving up 1 Drake. That's an early Baron in Nightless Void's pocket, and they can now just push in, get some turrets, get ahead, and Siege Comp is so dangerous when ahead.
Oh, Arcanos slow on the spell shield means that he still gets rooted up, and that's just another kill. Nightless Void have a offset recall timers in a 4-on-5 situation. That means a free push here on the bottom side.
I just don't see how Akuma Katanas can safely answer this right now against from Serzipri and Wake. Granted, Wake is still not seeing on the mana immune, but there's just not solid, safe wave clear to come out. You're relying very heavily on Extorted, and if you have wave clearing with Extorted, you're not poking.
Yeah, this is just... It turned into a disaster, and that's kind of also the thrill of series like this, right? Both teams know exactly what they need to do, and both teams know kind of the gambles that they're taking across the map, right? It was a gamble to try and re-engage on the second Infernal. It was a gamble to kind of engage on that Baron fight, and both times Akuma Katanas did lose out. They don't look like they're falling short at all. We do see, like you were talking about, Extorted on the top side. Now we do see Ratios as well, trying his hand at kind of dancing it around Toy. Remember, this is a 2-item in, does have the Dark Seal. Not exactly benefiting him at all, but you know, it's the thought that counts.
Struggling a little bit right now, but it still stands, and I think that's a decent win for Akuma Katanas right now. They are behind, they've lost a lot of their lead, but they still have avenues to get back into the game right now, and more importantly, they've set up for it. They've got vision all over the map, top side defensively warded, bot side aggressively warded here, and with an Akali, with a Jace, with a Nocturne, if they ever catch anybody on Nightless Void on their own, it doesn't matter if it's the Alistar or the Udyr, they can still burst them down.
Yeah, well, looks like it sounds like they want to go for this Corki. There they dive right in. That's going to be the Gallia ultimate right on top into the fleeing Corki. That 400 gold shutdown is going to go into Arcanos' pocket. Toy now might be able to go into the Mega Gnar. Throw Ratios right out of this fight, but Extorted is going to go ahead and keep chasing. Can't catch him quite under the tower, but mid lane is already being crushed. Remember, this is a heavy-handed Akuma Katanas who are trying their best to get any sort of gold back.
TP as well coming through from Extorted. Honestly felt like overkill there. That's not going to be available for the next major objective. 30 seconds when that Inferno comes up. Extorted has to be there or they don't have a numbers advantage. And we compare that to Toy, who does have the TP available, so they'll have to send Ratio to deal with it.
Yeah. Still though, wave in favor on the top side of Akuma Katanas, so they have wave pressure. I think they also have wave pressure on the bot side, so if they do dance this, they should have side lane pressure to be able to work around, right? That gives them a little bit of an opportunity to kind of space things out. However, those arrows are starting to do a bit. Drops though, walks right in. I don't know if this is what they want to do. Ratios just blows up Varus. That is the Akali putting in work. Kainos is going to go ahead, try and fear him out, but Zipri fires back with multiple Gatling guns. The Corki is doing work. A2 and 2 solely running for the hills. Rest of the squad as well. Ratios very low. Extorted as well. And Toy lands a massive meteor straight in the back of Extorted. And that means he is out flash forward. One rocket almost kills him. Second misses. Zipri is going to go over the wall. A third finds his mark. And that is Corki going on a killing spree. Nightless Void on the back of the Corgi is going to take the third Drake.
The pick onto Wake, that's nice. That's good for Akuma Katanas, but it's not the priority target. Right now, Wake is basically a glorified support. You've got the Chain of Corruptions. Wake managed to drop the ult. That's his job done. He can drop dead. Team doesn't care. It's Sir Zipri who's the main AD carry right now. And we saw that in that last fight. Drops as well. Somehow just barely surviving at the back of that fight. Although we're talking about, you know, bot lane setup, mid lane setup. None of that mattered. It was just a slaughter in the river. Inferno going the way of Nightless Void. And in 5 minutes, that's a soul that they're going to be fighting over.
Not just a soul. Infernal soul. And keep in mind, when you have two heavy poke champions like a Corki and a lethality Varus, by the way, you know it hurts. That's really all that can be said. So at this point, Akuma Katanas are fighting for their lives. If they lose this next Drake, they are put in a heavy disadvantage. If they try and engage, if they don't catch Sir Zipri, they lose the fight automatically, and yet they still have to cut through Toy. They still have to cut through drops, and Tick is now becoming more of a monster. Level 2 ultimate on that Unbreakable Will. Where do they go?
Now, Akuma Katanas are lucky that the Baron is desynced from the Dragon. So what they can do is start up a Baron dance and send Ratios to split push. You've got the TP advantage. Toy used his to great effect, but still did use it. So there's no TP to match right now. And you just need to stop the side of Nightless Void from taking that Baron. You don't have to take it yourself.
Oh, well, looks like that's going to be a TP used, so no more TPs in play. Ratios TPing right behind. They're going to try this collapse here. I don't know. This is what they want. Yeah, dashes forward and gets knocked up immediately. I don't think that's where Ratio wants to be. He is now directly under the tower, gets right back out, and this fight that they wanted is completely negated. Akuma Katanas falter at the starting line to that fight.
Such a forced setup there. And again, look at who their target was. Wake. They blew everything for Wake. And again, I still want to point out, second item, mana immune, still not converted to that mirror mana. No other completed item right now. It doesn't matter if you kill Wake or not. If you did that for Sir Zipri, worth. They do get the time to reset, but it's just a waste of a TP. Extorted has TP. Maybe Extorted goes to split push now?
Maybe he does. He is 3 items deep. They're gonna go ahead and find Arcanos, who is just walking. What are you doing, man?
Baron gone. Your jungler's dead. You don't have a way to steal this whatsoever. The shock blast damage shouldn't be enough to steal away this Baron. And once this Baron goes down, Nightless Void can just siege up.
Yeah, now they're actually going to try and contest. Solely going in for the taunt. Toy is very strong, but that's the Gnar against the wall. Double knock up into death. Sir Zipri follows up, flash in. Wake OG starting to get some revenge. One more attack might not do it. Lego James flashes on the wall. Baron goes in the pocket, and Nightless Void. And in all the scatter chaos, it all falls into their laps. They're going to take a 4-0 as Nightless Void go ahead and push down the mid lane.
Drops is going to be able to find the goat, but a great hideaway in the Raptor pit, going to get them back to safety. I don't think it's going to be enough. 20 seconds before Ratios and Extorted are back up here. And if Arcanos or Legoat get caught before that, it's the end of the game.
Yeah, you can actually see the split push. Mid inhibitor is going to go down. They're going to go ahead, clear out the last outer tower, and now rotate over to the top side. They're going to try and get a little bit more because of the staggered death timers. 5 seconds left on Extorted. I think they have just barely enough time. Yeah, they have all 5 members here. And with Toy Mega Gnar, this should be 2 inhibitors total. They're going to go ahead, drop the Paranoia. They're going to go in. One last dish attempt. This is their time to shine. Double knockup is there. Ratios just gets one up. A 4-man top by Soli might be able to stun it, but the stun from Lego is so much stronger. Drops, goes ahead, stuns it up. Arcanos and Extorted now running for the hills, and the knockback is only going to delay the inevitable. The boomerangs are too strong. Toy gets some revenge onto his top lane nemesis, and that is going to be game Nightless Void in a stunning turn of events. Feels like out of nowhere, but they ran the late game so cleanly. Arcanos gets thrown against the wall just for the thematic effect. That is going to be game number 1. Nightless Void take their first steps to moving on in the playoffs.
The cleanest of games, Orbital, from either of these teams to kick off their playoffs, but it just shows the resilience of Nightless Void there. They were just being pummeled the early game, and even though I knew their comp would come online, I didn't expect it to be as decisive as this. And I want to give huge props to Drops and Sir Zipri, because the two of them were really the whole comeback mechanic for the side of Nightless Void. And Toy as well, being a support main and slotting in, did everything Cuddle probably would have done anyways. Just soak up the pressure. Maybe didn't do it quite as gracefully on the Gnar, but soaked up a lot of pressure and was huge, literally mega in those later fights.
Yeah, such a strong player, soaking up a lot of the pressure early, like you were saying. And not only that, Wake and Tick pulled a lot of their weight as well. You know, Wake basically playing bait. That's what he was for a majority of this game. You know, you were talking about and pointed out multiple times, right? Akuma Katanas burning a lot on an ADC that just wasn't the primary objective at that point. So back to the drawing board, what needs to change for Akuma Katanas if they want to start making their way back into this series?
Akuma Katanas, their draft was fine. It was solid. We saw what happened in the early game. That was how it was meant to be executed. The problem was when they kind of fumbled the ball at the Dragon, when they started giving up kills, and then they just lost all control of the tempo. They lost Dragon, Baron in quick succession there. That's not something you want to see. And if they didn't do that, then maybe the Akuma Katanas could have closed that game out nice and clean just by choking out the rest of Nightless Void. But as it stands right now, I think it's more just that they need to be careful in game 2. If they drop themselves in early game comp, they need to make sure they don't give away those leads unnecessarily.
All right, well, there you go. We are moving into a very short break as we get prepped for game number 2. So go ahead, grab some water, grab some popcorn, whatever you want to grab, as we will see you in just a few. And we are back here for game number 2 after what felt like Nightless Void falling behind in the early stages turned into them rushing through the end of the game. And I want to say fantastic team fights, well thought out macro plays, and some slip ups from Akuma Blades, or Akuma Katanas, very sorry. Now looking into game number 2, you were talking about it a little bit, RMC, the draft was good, maybe some micro mechanics and some steps with the macro might be in order. But it seems that Akuma Katanas had just straight up said, "Now we got one better. We have a roster swap."
Yep, ratios came into sub, but it looks like their main starting top is back. Hybrid Supreme loaded into the lobby right now for Akuma Katanas. And frankly, I don't know how big the difference that's going to make, because ratios, I thought, did very, very well in that Jace Nar matchup, did exactly what he was supposed to, dominated the lane, pumped out a lot of damage, and frankly, wasn't the one who made the big slip-ups at the Dragon Pit.
Yeah, wasn't that, and we didn't touch on it too much, of course. And looking back, maybe we should have pointed out Arcanos had a few points where we questioned his decision making, right? Getting caught out in certain situations where we deem it kind of unnecessary for a jungler to be there. I mean, at these points, and especially in the playoff positioning, you don't want to see that from someone such as your jungler.
We're in playoffs. It's single elimination right now. It's no longer round robin. And yes, it's a best of 3, so you do have the space to mess up one game. But now that we're in game 2, Akuma Katanas don't really have that much space left to make mistakes. And while early game drops are all well and good, if you're unsure, if you're not feeling super confident, I would like to see some leeway, some scaling built into your kit so that you're not forced to make all the early moves, and that one mistake doesn't mean the end of your game.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, I always throw it back to what I tell my teammates: if you are playing a little bit poorly, or we're playing in a tournament, you're losing, just play a tank. Go on Sejuani, go on Zach. We've seen Zach come out in some scenarios, and it does okay. But you can't go wrong with a good Sejuani ult and pray that you can tank through the rest of the damage. I don't think we're gonna see that here, of course, because honestly, I don't expect Arcanos to make the same mistakes. At the same time, we do see that some key playmakers have been taken out of the game here for the second. That is the Varus and the Galio, both champions that did play key roles in game number 1. Both have been sidelined due to both teams saying we don't want to see that.
For Akuma Katanas on the blue side, taking away the Varus and the Udyr makes a lot of sense. We've already spoken about the fact that Udyr is Drop's most played champion here in the UML. You want to take away that comfort pick, and the Varus is such a strong laner, right? Or such a safe laner. He can 1v2, and we saw it a couple of times where Wake was kind of abandoned by Tick because Tick was roaming, and they just could never punish that Varus. And even when Varus is down, the chain is just so strong. I don't think they needed to ban the Doctor.
That is 4 of the 10 champions of last game banned away. Just straight up, we're not dealing with it. And now that the Diana's banned, you're kind of stuck between banning away Morgana or Rumble, and this is a hard choice for Nightless Void. I mean, you can ban one, hope for the other, or leave both open and say we'll take one, and after you pick one. So see, they opt for, and they actually opt for the Gnar. So both Morgana and Rumble are up. However, Rumble prioritized a little bit heavier by Akuma Katanas, so they will go ahead and lock in that poor Yordle.
When you're in that position there, you don't want to ban out the Morg or the Rumble, because then you're giving a free jungle with no counter. I've heard that Morgana does well into the Rumble with the Black Shield and the clear speed and all that, so it's not the worst thing to trade sort of 1 for 1. I'll take the Morgana. That said, Rumble does a lot more damage than the Morgana, so a little risky. And okay, if they do pick up the Thresh here, Triss and Thresh, I like both these champions for the side here of Nightless Void. They're both very strong champions, champions they pay a lot of. But my concern is that technically Akuma Katanas could always just pick up the Morg and send it bot lane support instead here, and then you don't have an OP jungler at all.
I mean, we've even seen it mid, right? If all else fails, you send it mid just to hold the lane, which I don't think they would, but it is a possibility. Now, we do see the Rel being hovered. It is going to be swapped over to the Alistar, which I do prefer a little bit more, right? Having that unbreakable will, if you get hooked by Thresh, you can break out of it. Also, the tanking is very good. If they're trolling us a little bit, Akuma Katanas hovering a second support.
No, not Rel. Alistar and Rel on the same team doesn't work. We're well past the days of the battle cow mid of the jungle cow. I don't think I've ever seen Rel anywhere but support. So We'll have to see where or what they opt to do with it here. And okay, Jinx. So, makes sense. I mean, right now priorities in terms of ADC is kind of Tristana, Varus, Jinx, Senna. So considering that 3 of them are already on the table here, it was kind of risky, and of course the more pickup because you don't want to get it banned. And so far we don't know for sure what the teams are going to run. I mean, you can run a Rumble with pretty much any team comp right now because Rundle's just that busted in the jungle, but they've already got themselves a solid team fighting composition, and more importantly they've made it difficult for you to punish that Jinx, and it's going to be up to Nightless Void right now to find a way to be able to access that backline.
Yeah, they're gonna have to have some access, and they're also gonna want to start taking away some of these frontline actioners. That's immediately going to call the Urgot ban, the Corki ban on the flip, because of course, you know, it was Sir Zipri that pretty much carried in some of those fights, right? 13, I think he was 13-2, 13-3 at the end of that game number 1. So a big key playmaker, take away his champion. Now we take a look. One last ban coming through so far. It's been a target on the top side. 4 seconds left. Who are they opting to say does not get to play here in game 2? It is the Renekton, so full swap up from previous bans here in the second round.
I really like the Renekton ban. I think Renekton Rumble is a very, very strong combo. Rumble struggles a little bit with ganks pre-6 because there's no hard CC in his kit. There is a bit of a slow, but it often isn't enough. So giving a Renekton for that mixed damage profile and the on-demand stun is such a good pairing. But they're just denying just general strong top laners, which makes me wonder what they're picking for Toy here in terms of a top laner, because it feels like they're trying to pick someone who might not have the best early game phase, who can be punished by the strong laners such as Urgot and Renekton.
Yeah, that is going to be the Orianna ban as well. So taking away just a lot of that utility that can come around. It's I would say relatively safe bans, right, for that mid lane. Now with a couple moments left, you do have the top and mid that we are working towards. You're going to see what they opt for, and it is going to be the Shen. I love this pickup, and man, they are trolling us. I swear they're listening in, still hovering that rel over and over again. And I if we see that rel anywhere besides this, well, I mean, if we see rel locked in at all, I'm going to scratch my head very hard.
Nah, they're just baiting. There's no way Akuma Katanas locked in. Not when they're already 1 game down. If they were ahead, maybe Orbital, I could see them trying to troll, especially, you know, with that Rumble pickup. Because Rel Rumble is a very potent combo, but not now. Olaf being picked. So they're sending Rumble to a solo lane then, if they're picking the Olaf here for the jungle.
I still hate being that weirdo, but I mean, we have seen Olaf tops as well, and if you're wondering if it works into the Shen, well, I think the Olaf is always that surprise pick, so it really depends on how you play it out. It's not unheard of to see Olaf top if they're trying to dance it out.
Into the Shen, you're trolling. I agree that Olaf top, I think I do play it, but into Shen, that's just not a lane you'll win there. It just pops, you know, his was it Spirit Refuge or whatever that shield thing is, and all of a sudden, like, Olaf just can't do diddly squat against the Shen, so you got to be trolling. Seraphine being locked in, so Rumble top into the Shen. Okay, that makes a little bit of sense there, because usually with the Shen, you know, it doesn't do super great into the AP champion. Punish. This works. There's a lot of great outs to pick up, and if you remember last draft, it was actually the side here of Nightless Void who had to ban the Silas because they drafted themselves Alistair Varus, 2 big ultimates here, and now it's Akuma Katanas not respecting that when they've got the Alistair, they've got a Rumble, they've got an Olaf, Seraphine, like literally all those outs are huge ultimates to be able to take away.
Yep. Anytime you draft the Alistar, you said it best. You better be ready to ban out that Silas. It is pretty much a given unless you pick it up yourself. We're going to go ahead and get into the actual draft phase, but taking a look here with the Olaf kind of thrown in there for kind of randomly, do you feel this works out? Because Olaf technically is that counter to the Morgana jungle, right? Able to have that Ragnarok get through the bindings and get through the soul shackles. However, so late in the draft, do you feel like this is appropriate?
I don't really like the Olaf pick here too much. It doesn't synergize at all with the front 3 picks you've got. Alistair, Rumble, and Jinx. None of them particularly benefit the Olaf or benefit from the Olaf pick, but Olaf Seraphine, I mean, that's a solid combo to pick up in your mid jungle to make actions happen. So it's not the worst thing, but I'm also not a huge fan of it. And Arcanos here has to prove that he can do better on this Olaf than the Nocturne, because last game felt a little bit too reactive with the Paranoia ultimates. And when you've got an Olaf can't play reactive. He has to be proactive 100%. If you're using Ragnarok to run away, your team's probably in a really, really bad spot. So I'm looking for Arcanos to make action happen, but honestly, it doesn't matter because they have enough peel for the Jinx. That's kind of how this comp works. You've got the Rumble as well. And more importantly, Nightless Void don't have a great way to punish that Jinx. You've got maybe the Silas, and then you drop a Stand United on top of the Silas to try and access the backline. But it's still kind of risky, and there should be enough CC to protect from that dive.
Yeah, and that dive is all that we're kind of looking for. And of course, when you don't want to dive, you can just pick, right? You have the Thresh Morgana to follow up. You have a Tristana and a Silas that can shred through that front line. And if you do need to dive, all of a sudden you have the Silas with the Alistar Unbreakable Will. You are good to go, right? Like that is your key tank right there. That is a Silas straight into your backline. That's just like, I don't take any damage, you know, haha, laugh in your face and run away. I mean, it also feels Nightless Void have all the components to be able to steal away a victory once again.
Potentially. So Nightless Void's composition is a little risky as well. You've got the Tristana Thresh. I like that bot lane into the Jinx Alistar here. You can punish, you can pick, and there's not a lot of kill threat coming through from the Katanas in their bot side. Mid lane, Silas also does really, really well into the Seraphine. So the bot side of the map favors the side of Nightless Void, but top side, your Shen's not going to be a great position. And one good thing about that Olaf pick is Olaf does great into the Morgana here. The Black Shield, yeah, sure, it cancels the Undertow, but you dodge maybe one. That's about it. The second one's going to hit, it's going to slow, and then he runs you down here. So the map kind of gets split a little bit. Top side in favor of Akuma Katanas, bot side in favor of the side of Nightless Void. But with the scalings slightly favoring the side of Akuma Katanas, and with the way the compositions interact here, there's a lot of pressure on Sir Zipri. If Sir Zipri cannot find the way into the backline post 20 here, then it's going to be a bit of a struggle, and you're going to have to rely very heavily on getting picks on squishy targets. If you hook solely, Unbreakable Will. If you hook Arcanos, Ragnarok. So the front line is going to be nice and tanky against those picks.
Yep. I mean, you're praying for Extorted or Legoat to step up just a little too far. We see what Silas can do. We've seen what Silas's can do it given just that singular opportunity, right? But that opportunity has to kind of give itself. You're not going to, like you said, you're not going to find that just kind of lying out anywhere. It's sometimes going to be pretty hard fought. So again, Akuma Katana is down a game and have to fight back. And this is a composition that they have laid their hopes and dreams on. Nightless Void, of course, sitting here pretty with one game already in their pockets and some very strong carry potential to come out here in game number 2. We will go ahead and make sure that this broadcast is going to be up to quality for the stream and make sure you guys can enjoy it at home. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with game number 2 between Nightless Void and Akuma Katanas.
तेरी यादों का तेरी याद में निहा 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 तेरी
And we are here once again with game number 2. Akuma Katanas on the verge of potentially being knocked out in the first round of playoffs, drafting themselves a pretty solid types of composition. The Seraphine, an old but good kind of a battery they set up for themselves. But of course, with that Rumble top, you never know what's going to happen.
I mean, for Akuma Katanas, they know what they need to have happen here and need to win top and make sure they don't fall short in bot and mid. And the reason why I'm focusing on the Katanas is because they're the ones with their backs up against the wall. Nightless Void can't afford to mess up, and they still get one more game here.
Yeah, and even though we just pointed out Rumble and everything, I do want to talk about this summoner difference here in the bottom side. Normally we see aggressive supports like the Alistar take Ignite, going for that kill pressure, but it feels like they fully conceded the lane. This is an exhaust Alistar. They are saying we don't expect to win this bottom lane at all.
Yep. And they really shouldn't toy. Getting punished a little bit, will be able to dash away, and it's being matched in the mid lane.
Yeah, that's just a couple auto attacks, and already Sir Zepri winning out in terms of what looks to be a 50% HP difference.
But Arcanos leveraging that Olaf strength right away into the Morgana has a huge lead. Is actually able to push drops out and might be able to 3 buff drops here, which is not something you see very often against Morgana jungles.
Yeah, not at all. As we do see Olaf, looks like Arcanos just walked straight through mid and soaked up half a wave. I'm not sure if that's what you want to do to your mid laner. I'm saying this potentially as a mid lane player. That's not going to make him happy. Oh.
Make Extorted happy, but as long as Extorted doesn't die, it's perfectly fine. I mean, when you pick a Seraphine, that's a bit of a funnel style mid laner, but you can afford to give up experience, give up gold to your jungler if they need it. And more importantly, we spoke about this Olaf pick here, the fact that jungle top is the winning picks for Akuma Katanas here. So leveraging, trying to get your jungle as far ahead as possible is a very viable strategy, and one that I'm not unhappy to see here.
Not unhappy to see, as that was what looks to be an attempt at a triple buff. So Arcanos went ahead, took that red buff on the top side of Drops. So Drops already behind, did the full clear, and is easily going to realize that that Arcanos has pretty much wiped that top side of the map. So very, very interesting. Hybrid Supreme already up a level and quite a bit of CS on Toy, who already had to chug his potion.
Drops, knowing that's probably all done, has to look bot side. And interestingly enough, there's no vision. There was no ward. Lagoat and Soli are very, very far up.
It's going to be a jump in. Nice play. Soli is actually going to get rooted, and the bind actually whiffs, but I think they still had the kill. The satchel is on. First blood goes over to Wake OG. And Sir Zepri in the mid is going to force Extorted down to minimal MP levels.
I've got questions about that play down there, Orbital, for you're the one who 3 buffed Drops. Drops got chased off the red buff, so it's not as if you snuck in there. Drops has to assume that topside's gone, so Drops has to look either mid or bot lane, and neither mid nor bot had vision. You get Lagoat and Soli pushing out. The question is why? Arcanos able to make good on that, able to farm things up, but giving an assist over to Drops is just letting them back to the game. And more importantly, Wake and Tick were already going to run the bot lane with first blood in their pocket. It only gets worse.
It only gets worse as Drops can't get the large raptor, as Arcanos turns it around and starts throwing down a couple axes, flashes in, flash for flash, but the kill goes Arcanos' way. A little bit of revenge from game number 1.
Yeah, Nightless Void have decided to join the in-train slightly there. Drops turned back into the bush. Morgana is never going to beat an Olaf early without help, and Sir Zepri was in base. So We continue that early game advantage right now for the side of Akuma Katanas. Drops is going to fall further and further behind. Don't get to play the game. And we spoke about Drops Zerzipri being sort of the trigger for Nightless Void in a lot of their plays. Well, half their trigger is broken right now, and Zerzipri has to bear a lot more weight in this particular game.
Yeah, a lot more weight. And I mean, you're taking a look. So Zepri has definitely had some good trades, but is still down in CS. Toy is hoping to connect in. And we are waiting to see, of course, as Sir Zepri goes ahead, dances right in, throws it right back with the chains. And again, they're trying to find their openings. And so far, it's only Wake and Tick that are having that option.
I mean, Sir Zepri is trading fairly evenly against Extorted, but Extorted doing a great job farming up. And for the Seraphine here, if you're able to go even, that's kind of a win as far as you're concerned here. But my concern, Orbital, is more lying around how Akuma Katanas are playing, because last game they got an early lead and they kind of threw it here. So as far as, despite the early leads they're getting, despite the pressure Arcanas is putting down, part of me just doesn't feel settled till, you know, we start hitting about the 15-minute mark.
Yeah, and so Zepri actually took a hit from the tower, walks away pretty nicely though. So Extorted, of course, always on the weaker side, I feel, of these trades, but Arcanos going for that dragon early. I'm not sure if he wants to do that. However, Legoat James and Soli have the wave advantage, so seems like Arcanos is pretty happy about going for this. Hook goes in and actually hooks up Legoat James. Feels like it could have gotten a lot more damage, but of course the bot lane of Akuma Katanas only takes about 50%.
A huge wave right there, so it's kind of risky for Wake to jump in, but definitely I was going to say Arcanos safe to do that dragon right now. They have full vision of Sir Zepri. If Drops walks in, Drops is going to drop dead. So it's really just about that bot lane, and because they managed to stack the waves, Legoat and Soli had prio if there was going to be a fight breaking out. Drops did invade though to try and buy a little bit more time, buy a little bit more pressure, and try and get back into this game.
Yeah, tried his best, down about 2 camps, and went the Predator build, which I think is actually the standard, but also went challenging smite, so not going for the kind of that gank heavy. It means that they understand that they're going to be fighting. That's going to be a flash in by Tick. Draws the flash of Legoat James, so bot lane advantage with the summoner spells. However, mid lane looks like it's gonna go in favor of Extorted and Soli. They find Zepri sleeping and select themselves a kill.
Really good roam up there from Soli, and sure, it wasted the flash of Legoat James, but it's basically a flash for a kill there. And now Sir Zepri does have TP, can get right back into lane here, and should be able to control the lane, because Extorted, out of mana, doesn't have TP to base and then TP back.
Boy, still struggling a little bit on this top side. We knew it was going to happen. Tick and Wake going ahead and pushing down bot side, and we do see the CS differential coming out now for that ADC, so we'll see if Wake is able to go back, pick up some much needed items. Sitting on 1600, so should be able to go back. Yep, there it is, the quiver as well as boots. So this Tristana getting off to a fairly solid lead.
And honestly, for the side of Nightless Void here, they're not actually too deep into the hole. Yes, they've kind of lost control of the map here. The mid lane, where you'd want to see the Silas have a lot more pressure, isn't materializing due to lack of Morgana being able to do anything, but they're okay. They can look to scale up a little bit as well here, and then they can just start look to get picks with that Morgana binding, with that thresh hook roaming up from Sir Zepri over the ward here.
Yeah, and that's actually going to draw in. Equalizer has been used. Equalizer back whiffs though. So Hybrid Supreme getting a lot more value out of his first shot.
Okay, and Drops actually being rotated into the mid lane here. Walking right past. Hello, there's a wave for you to collect. Okay, doesn't collect the wave. A little bit surprised because has already cleared the jungle item, so could technically pick things up. And Arcano's just gonna continue the invade right now. Drops needs to steal away some of those lane minions, or you're just always gonna be behind.
Yeah, always gonna be behind here, as Arcanos is doing exactly what an Olaf should. Went ahead and picked up the Lucidity boots, so really not worried about what's going on. Taking a look here. Is going to be Hybrid pushing up here, might get a plate for himself, as of course all lanes outside of bot lane are going in favor of Akuma Katanas. And I mean, this, you were talking about it, right? They threw a lead in the early stages, and this time around it doesn't feel like they will. What better way than the top lane going way more in favor than last time, right? The Rumble is going to be, in my opinion, much stronger in the mid to late game than a Jace. And I mean, being able to collect so quickly should allow them objective controls.
Scary to me, Orbital, what's going to happen here in the next 5-10 minutes. We talked about the fact that Akuma's composition in the team fight here, if you fight front to back, is going to be stronger. They do spike here with their ultimates, and with Nightless kind of falling behind, this is not a good position for them. They need to find picks, but they can't. The vision and control for the most part has been in favor of Akuma Katanas here. And it's only around the bot side that it's been in favor of the side of Nightless. Despite that vision though, Soli's been able to roam and punish, and Tick has not left lane.
Tick is not at all, and that's also feeling kind of rough here. However, that's gonna be a charmed up target. The Encore was used, the Ragnarok trying to get out of that fight as Toy followed up, couple more auto attacks, and the Ashes finds Arcanos. Says hello in the mid lane. I'll take that extra kill. Extorted and Arcanos turn it around 2v1.
Flash over from Arcanos to secure that one there. And when you start losing control of the mid lane, to me, that's a bit of a barometer here, Orbital. In terms of, we said that okay, bot in favor of Nightless, that's been the case the entire time. Top in favor of Akuma Katanas, again, uncontested. That mid lane, though, which should really be more in the favor of Nightless, the fact that you're losing control there tells you that Arcanos is starting to become that runaway train. And sure, Olaf maybe not the best pick here in terms of a neutral pick, but once an Olaf starts to get rolling, that's when you've got problems. And right now, Arcanos is definitely ahead. 2 levels up from drops here, matching the solo laners in terms of experience and gold.
Yeah, they're just doing so well. And I mean, it's a complete turnaround, I feel, because it feels like a lot more stable. I have no other ways to put it. That's gonna be a binding landing. That's gonna be the box going down. Dodge on the hook as well. Equalizer going in, headbutts in solely, trying to create some space, and they find the first kill. This is gonna be Lagoat running out the back with the rockets as well. They have gotten everything, and then more Akuma Katanas claim the Drake and 2 kills.
5v4 pretty much when that fight started, and they managed to turn that around. They get the dragon as well, and I'm sad to say this is probably how the game's gonna run. You need to start getting picks, and maybe once the turret goes down here, Orbital, then Nightless will be able to start finding some picks on their own, because in the lanes as it stands, they're just not able to find anything.
Yeah, they aren't able to find anything. Vision will be broken open. That's gonna be the Ragnarok burned by Arcano. Stepped up a little bit too close into the enemy fog of war, which we will get cleared up. Of course, you have been just going ahead and taking a look at Akuma Katana's vision so far. We will go ahead and show you what, you know, Nightless Void have been working with for the past few minutes, which honestly is not much, right? This is going to be the second tower charge going down, so that means Akuma Katana's got so much value out of this Rift Herald, gotten so much pressure and a map control. I mean, at this point, I don't even think if they could throw if they wanted to.
I hesitate to agree, Orbital, but I agree with the sentiment that it's very difficult. I mean, that is an inhibitor turret taken down to less than 50% health at 13 minutes. When was the last time we saw that here in the UML, Orbital? That's not normal. That's not okay. And that's a 5,000 gold lead. Last game it was a 3,000 gold lead at about 15 minutes that Nightless Void managed to fight back from. This time, 5k, top turret about to go down pre 14 minutes. They're just able to strip so much plate gold away.
This is such a drastic turnaround from game number 1, right? Like, this is just hardball, completely different from what we saw. And now Tick getting hit by an axe. I mean, it's danger everywhere you go. And you talked about it, right? Like, this is exactly what the competition has to do. They have to win early. They have to keep putting on the momentum and pressure. Hybrid Supreme going ahead on that top side and should be able to clear out the wave. Toy, of course, struggling here against, of all things, Night Harvester, right? You love to see it on a Rumble. It's just an annoying item to say the least, but so good.
Yeah, it gives you cooldown reduction. It doesn't give you extra mana. That's kind of wasted. And for the side of Nightless Void right now, they just need to start making rotations happen here. You don't want to sit in lanes, but they just keep sending everybody back to the lanes. You've lost mid 2 turrets. Top's about to go down. You can't defend that. Just why don't you get Sir Zipri Roman? Tick, why is Tick still in lane as well? You've got the second tier boots, the Ionian boots done. Get going, find some picks, find that Jinx, find that Seraphine. They're still very squishy. Even Hybrid Supreme in this top lane right now is very punishable still.
Yeah, and honestly, to combat that, I do love Extorted's build, right? Shirelia's battle song. We don't see it very often, if at all, on Seraphine's. However, with the kind of fall of the Moonstone Renewer, this item, if you are ahead, provides so much, especially if you're trying to get to the back line, right? Like, this item gives so much speed to your team when you're a Rumble, when you're an Olaf, when you're an Alistar. You have complete dominating control of how quickly you enter a fight or how quickly you can at least maintain distance.
Exactly. If things go bad for you, it's not like that turbo chem tank where, you know, you want to run at people. You can run away very, very effectively with Shirelia's as well. And with that Jinx here, with that Rumble, they've got options as to how they want to play this. And this is why I'm worried for the side of Nightless Void here. They don't necessarily have the best engage. We already spoke about how it's difficult for them to find the back line. And if they're just relying on hooks, then you need to get those pick champions rotating. Drag coming up in a minute here. And Nightless Void, you don't want to be fighting in the river. You don't want to be fighting at the objective with that equalizer just burning down on you, with the Encore threatening you. You want to be able to catch people in rotation. And because it is a mountain map, the choke points are kind of nasty too if you do end up fighting against a Rumble Seraphine.
If you end up fighting against them, it's just pretty much your whole team listening to a pop star sing you to death. That's pretty much what you're doing there. And you really don't want that to happen. Of course, Sir Zipri could go ahead, throw an Encore of his own if he's able to pull the ultimate, right? It just hasn't had that opportunity. Now we see Drops have to use that Black Shield so early, and that's going to leave about a 10-second window. Wake OG is going to go ahead and jump in. It is going to jump directly into the Encore. Gets out with a heal and flash toy. Now I'm going to run for his life, but a knockup from an unbreakable Alistar is going to secure their deaths. Double kill with the equalizer for Hybrid, and that should just be an entire win for the side of Akuma Katanas.
So Zipri will be able to get out. There's no hard CC there, but it's such a small silver lining when you consider what you just lost here. 3 members dragging down. They're at so point here. Burn coming up in 3 minutes. And the scary part is Akuma Katanas can just repeat that. There's just no real answer coming through from Nightless Void. And we talked about the fact there's a lot of choke points on the map right now, Orbital. Even if you have vision, if you see them coming and you choose not to run away, then it doesn't matter that you've got all the vision on the map.
It doesn't matter at all if you can see him. You just can't get away from him. And I mean, this is a brand new Akuma Katana. All that you were wondering, you know, how would Hybrid fit in? Would this make a big difference? It feels like it has. It feels like it's almost given them a rejuvenated sense of teamwork, right? Like, this is a team that's faring much better, and especially Arcanos, right? Game number 1, we were wondering about his Nocturne. We were wondering about how he was playing, you know, making some of these key mistakes. As soon as he is in the driver's seat, as soon as he is in a position where he kind of dictates where the pacing goes, where these engages happen, he has seemed so much in his own element.
Much better. And a huge prop comes down to the drop. The fact that they kind of got drops on this Morgana. They had the counter pick and they were able to abuse it right off the bat. That level 1 invade that just set the tone for the entire game and gives them, gives the side of Akuma Katanas the agency, the priority in what they want to do here. And it just feels like Nightless Void never quite recovered from that. And in game 1-2, they struggled, right? It was the throw from Akuma Katanas that really let them back into the game. Katanas cleaned that up. They're not making a throw. They've not made a mistake, and they're not letting Nightless Void back into the game.
They're even planning for no mistakes in the late game, as we do see that Chemtech Putrefier coming out from Extorted, playing for the extreme late game, right? Cutting away the healing from 3 key members, the Morgana, the Silas, and the Tristana.
It's not looking good here, Orbital. The one, I guess, it's super dead. Okay.
Jeez.
It doesn't even matter that equalizers come out. The equalizer's a lie, Orbital. There's nothing equal there. Hybrid did way more damage than Sir Zipri.
When the name lies to you, that's just, it's so mean and so rude, but it's so good. And this is why Rumble is a high tier pick. This is why wherever he goes, you have to be wary, right? And this is why they felt comfortable trading him into that top side, which, like you said, I think was a fantastic job against Toy, who has struggled consistently, now 60 CS down. Taking a look, Zanya's and Night Harvester done, potentially going for that. I don't think it's realized, possibly Void Staff. I don't know. I'm work with me here, RMC. What is going to be the next item build? I feel we're going to see more and more items stack up on Hybrid very quickly.
Void Staff would be very efficient here at this point in the game. Is actually one of the most efficient second AP items. Could also be a Demonic Embrace if you just feel like adding even more burn. Is it necessary? No. Is it going to make Toy's life hell? Yes. So yeah, that is always an option here, and I suspect that's what we're going to see. I'm actually a little surprised we didn't see a third item, Death Cap, coming out from Hybrid, because I feel like when you're this far ahead, 4-0-1 right now, that Death Cap just means that Drops, Zepri, and Wake don't get to play the game whatsoever here.
Yeah, you are effectively benched. You are part of the ban list, and you don't get to see the Rift. That's just how it goes. Legoat James 0-0-3, down 20 CS, but still keeping up in the itemization. Zepri, something we haven't gotten to touch on, just finished his Everfrost. One of the cheaper mythics that you can have, and just finished it at 20 minutes and 30 seconds.
I don't know if I'd say it's cheaper. I mean, AP mythics are actually one of the more expensive items, but yeah, definitely Zepri is so far behind right now. And the only good thing for Nightless Void so far this game, I feel like, is that they haven't been completely team wiped. They have lost team fights, but the maximum amount of members they've lost in any team fight is 3 members here. But at this point in the game, 21 minutes here, if they do lose more than 2 members, that's instantly Baron gone, probably inhib taken, maybe the end of the game. That's kind of what happened last game, right? When Nightless Void found their first Baron, they just pushed the end. And it's Akuma Katana's turn to show that they can do the same.
Their own turn, as the mid lane has been that priority. You can see Extorted and Soli dancing around there. Dragon up in about 23 seconds. And again, this is Soul Point. This is where all the marbles, Akuma Katanas, could easily start negating a lot of the poke damage that's coming out of Nightless Void if they pick up this Mountain Soul, if they get this extra shielding and tack on another 6% armor. Magic Resist, Arcanos going ahead and throwing forward. They're gonna jump right in, and the Equalizer not really landing on anyone, but sections everyone out. This is a split fight. Once again, Seraphine Encore was stolen and used. They're gonna dive straight in the backline. Zepri can't find anyone as Drops goes ahead, dances right in, tries to use the Soul Shackles, can only find no one, as this is Nightless Void trying their best to run away, but the headbutts keep everyone in line. Another Encore lands. That's actually Extorted saying, yeah, cool, mine's a little bit better. The Rocket's doing so much damage. Legoat James finishes it off with a triple kill. 1 for 5, Dragon in name. Soul goes away of Akuma Katanas.
That's a wrap up. I mean, it kind of doesn't matter what happens now. Dragon's down, Baron's gonna go down. There's no answer, and sure, they can't push into the base right away off that fight because they are doing Baron, but it doesn't matter. Nightless Void can't win this here. If you try and fight under a turret, that was such a conclusive win. Only Hybrid Supreme going down in a 1 for 5 on open ground. That's not something you want to see, and that does mean they can dive you under turrets. And with the Baron buff here, it's literally just closing out the game, a matter of going home, buying, and marching your minions in.
I just want to point out, this is extremely clean from Akuma Katanas. They haven't dropped a single tower, haven't dropped a single global objective. Their towers, the only tower that's really been scratched is that bot lane. And they've only given up 3 kills against a squad that feels like they should have the advantage in some of these skirmishes, right? You have a Stand United, you have the jump in from Sir Zepri, you have drops on this Morgana. Like, this is immaculate so far from Akuma Katanas.
Pretty much here. So the only question remains, I guess, Orbital, is will the Akuma Katanas lose anybody here while trying to close out the game? Or how many will they lose?
Well, They're about to gain one more, so Extorted just straight up use it. I think that's only because they didn't have any other hard CC. It was like, I'll burn it. It's kind of fun.
You don't really need it for the next fight. The cooldown's fairly low as well at this point, and they've got more than enough CC. Hybrid just pressuring top. Maybe they get a pick here. Do they have enough bodies? They just need
maybe. Sika's gonna go ahead, throw down the hook, and that's the equalizer landing. He's gonna go ahead, go golden, and try and get out. So yeah, that is gonna be the sacrificial pawn. They go ahead, lose mid and bot side. They did get a shutdown though, so that is something that they can write home about. But I mean, watching your base turn into shambles, bunch of ruined monuments. I mean, was it really worth it? You be the judge.
No, or they don't even have to write home because they're going to be there shortly. It's the final push.
Yeah, it really is. That's going to be a couple shots going down. Legoat just shredding through health bars. One more auto attack is going to do a double kill for Legoat James. He's going to get a little extra mana back, and that's just going to be the towers. 17-4, shy of 25 minutes. This is Akuma Katanas coming back in a furious march straight through Nightless avoids a base. They're going to go ahead, clean up a couple kills in the fountain as the Nexus finally falls, and it is tied up 1-1.
Got ourselves a series here, Orbital. The Akuma Katanas will not go quietly into the night here. We said that they had momentum coming into the playoffs. They are just getting better and better. And even within this series, the difference between game 1 and game 2 are like day and night right now. And now the shoe's on the other foot. It's up to Nightless Void to figure out how they want to answer back. And I think step 1 starts in the draft. They got baited a little bit. It was a great draft from Akuma Katanas here. They give you the Morgana. They have an answer prepared. And now going into game 3, I don't know if they're going to be swapping sides. If they are, then maybe they can find a way around it. And they'll be up to the Akuma Katanas, you know, in terms of how they want to draft, whether they can once again find a winning bait in their draft phase here.
Yeah, I mean, RMC, what better way to kick off the Upsurge minor league playoffs, right? Game 3 going all the way. No 2-0s here tonight, at least on stream. We are hoping for that today. We are going to go ahead and be right back as we get prepared for game 3 of our series. And here we go once again, last time of the evening here in the final game of this thrilling opening series of the UML playoffs here. Again, game number 1, a little bit rocky, which came out with Nightless Void taking the victory, but game 2, everything was in Akuma Katana's hands, almost like well-written poetry or a well-sharpened sword. Only giving up 4 kills, took every single objective. I mean, RMC, do you think we'll see more of the same?
Yeah, definitely not. We're getting a side swap. So once Nightless Void, you got me saying now. We'll be on the blue side, Akuma Katana's red side. And if we think back to game 1, when we last saw these teams on these sides, Rumble was first ban from the side of Katana. They know better than to let that one through.
Yeah, don't let this one pick that's been storming through everywhere get through ever again. That's kind of, I feel, the statement that was made. Yeah, immediately Rumble banned away, not allowed through, but some respect being thrown over to the Thresh that was played last game in the Olaf. So massive twist here for the ban fades. Nightless Void really giving respect over.
Trolling us with that rel hover, even in the bans now. It started in the picks, now they're having the bans. Oh, they went for Udyr. Okay, so Morgana is still open, and Diana now also open here. Diana kind of similar to Rumble that you can flex into the solo lanes, though more mid lane than top. Diana top is very punishable here. So it'll be interesting to see which one Nightless Void choose to prioritize here. I know that in professional play, Morgana is more preferred, but frankly, I think with their playstyle so far, Diana would probably work better for drops.
Yeah, and I will say one of the things that I've always feared while watching a Morgana go on, one of my biggest fears is teams don't play around it properly. It's not a champion that you should expect to be able to dive all the time, right? This is not a champion that you're always sitting there and saying, well, you have the soul shackles, you have the bindings, just go in, right? Just go in 5-head or whatever you want to say. This is a champion that I feel should only synergize with the pick composition, right? This is throw binding, everyone lay in with a little bit of siege and you're good to go. This is not a champion that you're saying, all right, we got one binding, we just hard dive them all. So we'll see what Nightless Void do attempt to play with this time around. That is going to be the Diana locked in though. So like you stated, we are getting the premier APs outside of Rumble being played this game.
The Diana coming through from Akuma Katanas. I think it fits more Nightless Void's playstyle here, the way they like to play very aggressively through their mid jungle. But again, it could be mid for Extorted here. But they've generally succeeded a bit better, I think, Akuma Katanas, when they've drafted themselves more front to back team fights, a more protective sort of composition here. Alistair being picked up was pretty big in game 2 here, and well, even in game 1 when it was Nightless Void playing that one here. So I like the pickup. The ADC is not picked up yet, and frankly there's no ADC ban. So Tristana, Jinx, the ones that we've seen a lot are still Corki. That's not an ADC pick, but just picking it early because why not? It works so well for them in game 1.
Yeah, I wonder if they could have left that for later and kind of flipped it, because of course whenever you pick the Alistar you kind of feel like it's a 50-50 on whether you're banning Silas or another champion, but opting for that Corki early does give them kind of that level of safety that the mid lane will be in hopefully fairly good hands. Last 5 seconds here, you are taking a look at what can be picked up. It is going to be that Lulu, which was banned away quite a bit, and the Zed immediately hovered. I'm not sure if that's what they actually want to do, because that would be an immensely disadvantageous lane for the Zed.
You pick the Zed for the kill pressure onto the Corki, but the problem is that when you see a Morgana Lulu already on the enemy team, not the safest thing to pick up here. Even if you kill Corki in isolation, the moment they start grouping up, that Zed's going to become useless. Besides, Diana, I think it is a safe enough pick right now. Diana can actually be flexed mid into the Corki and will do decently well. There is kill threat onto that Corki, and the range of that Diana Q roughly matches the auto attack range, so you're pretty okay. Jinx, much better pickup right now, because there's the ADC, unless it's that Corki, which is still unlikely, is going to be picked up by the side of Nightless Void. You can just target the ADC pool because they still have yet to pick it up.
Now we get the almighty Rel hover ban. I understand they're trolling and maybe they hurt us, maybe they're just messing with us, but it's great. I love it. This is going to be the new Teemo hover. Oh gosh, those were the days. The Teemo hovers of ages. The Zed hover though, I obviously don't think that's going in, but I do think it might be another ADC ban. Of course, with the Lulu on the table, you're kind of wondering if you just want to take away that powerhouse bot lane, and it looks like that is what they're going to do. So the Vayne taken away as well. No hypercarry ADC is going to be played for Nightless Void.
And yeah, Kog'Maw right now, Jugga Jinx, those are the two which we see a lot, but Vayne often paired a lot with that Lulu, and because they've already selected Jinx, they can ban the other two. And sure, Tristana is still on the table, Senna is still on the table. Those are the other two very high prio ADCs, but they don't synergize particularly well with this Lulu pickup here, with the Morgana pickup. And so instead, I'm thinking, you know, maybe Sivir maybe doesn't do super great. Works with the Lulu, but doesn't do great with the Corki. Maybe an Ezreal, I don't know. It's negated the Lulu to a very large extent here for the side of Nightless Void.
I feel like if you really want to fall down the tier list, right, the Ashe is still very viable, right? I think Ashe is always going to be viable. It's one of the few champions that you can kind of bring into any meta if you can't pick anything else, right? It's okay, it's safe, can output a decent amount of damage, but if you want to run it into the utility, you can with that Ashe ultimate. However, we will not know, of course, until they go ahead and pick. The Victor is going to be blind picked here in that mid lane, or not blind picked, it is going to be counter picked against the Corki. So saying, hey, we'll play range against range and see how it goes. We forgot about the Kai'Sa. Kai'Sa is still available.
Feelings about this Kai'Sa pick here. I don't think it's quite enough physical damage, and that means they'll have to pick something top that can pump out some sort of physical damage, because Corki's primarily magical, Kai'Sa's pretty split, and there's just not, it's just a lot of magic damage here. The Corki though does great. I think that's a great pickup. It fits the Akuma Katana style, like we talked about. They do well in front to back in the team fights, and that the gravity field can be used offensively or defensively. The laser can clear out against the Corki. Ooh, Riven into Sion. I've got some questions about that one. Sion, a very, very safe top lane pick. It does do physical damage, kind of. So not the worst thing. And I think it provides them some initiate, which is going to be very good for their composition, which up to now has 0 initiation. Morgana, Corki, Lulu, Kai'Sa, all of them. None of them want to be the first ones in.
Yeah, I also think that it's just a very strong pickup against someone that has to dive in, right? You can easily deter the Diana and the Alistar. And now the set, even if you don't want to deal with them, the set locked in here. Last pick, we're throwing down gloves against some Fizz here on the top side. I'm excited. This top lane, we might actually get to see some action.
I love the fact that they waited it out. They gave the counter pick to Hybrid Supreme here, because now if Sion goes in, Set just body blocks and Showstopper, and suddenly the tides are turned around. Showstoppering Sion to the back end. If you hit the squishies there, you can chunk them for about half your health later on in the game. Showstopper skills off the opponent's max health here, and it's also just a great way to keep your Jinx safe. We talked about it last game, the fact that I didn't feel that Nightless Void had a good way to deal with that Jinx. I'm looking once again, I still don't feel like they've got a great way to deal with that Jinx.
Yeah, just not enough reach. I mean, you're taking a look, and yes, I feel like you have a little bit more poke potential here, right? The Morgana can throw a binding, and then you can throw down the missile barrage and some of the prey seekers, right, from the Kai'Sa. But it's just not enough. That Jinx is going to have such a nice body blocking from the Alistar, from the Set, and from the Diana, which, I mean, even the Diana, right? If you watch Diana's build, I think we'll go a little bit more AP driven, of course, but still gets relatively health tanky.
Just the shield too. Your shield skills off the AP. So even if you build straight AP, if she just pops the W, the shield's there, you're going to be able to soak up some of that poke. Naturally, not the ideal person to soak up all. And the other thing too is I'm looking at the Kai'Sa pick, because anytime you pick a Kai'Sa, to me that's it's like similar to Samira. You need people to go in with that champion, and I'm not seeing a lot of that. Kai'Sa goes in with Sion, all great, all well. If Sion gets showstoppered back out of the fight, Kai'Sa is now sitting in the middle, sitting right next to a Diana and a Victor. And I don't think you even need to ult to pop that Kai'Sa from 100 to 0 between the two of them there. So really, really not a safe thing. It feels like the comps at odds against each other, but naturally we can't count out the Corki. And we spoke about drops and Sir Zepri before. This time I think Morgana into Diana is a much better jungle matchup, and with the Corki as well, they should be able to punish, and Arcanos shouldn't be allowed this time to just walk in and shove out drops at level 1.
Yeah, shouldn't, but we've seen it kind of happen, right? We've seen that opportunity occur. Arcanos, though, on the Diana might also, I feel, have some scary meetings if Corki actually gets some lane presence, right? Might see it rotate in, which we haven't really seen a whole lot of, right? The mid laners have played pretty static. The ADCs and bot lanes have played pretty static. So it's really just everyone against themselves. And in a situation like this, I kind of want to walk down the lanes and see, in your opinion, if any of these kind of stand out, right? Last time it was Hybrid taking over that top side with the Rumble against the Shen, and also Extorted coming out with a large lead over Sir Zepri. Here in game number 3, when laning seems to be such an important aspect of how these two teams play, do you feel there is a singular lane that will yield a large or a more advantageous result?
Top lane, the set counter pick. That's a huge counter pick, and we've seen it multiple times. Toy, I think it bears mentioning once again. I know I harp on this a lot, but Toy is a substitute, is a support main, is not really a top laner here, and has done a great job on these tanks. But Toy's probably not going to win the lane, and Hybrid Supreme got the counter pick as well. So that's something that I expect to see heavily Akuma Katanas favored. The other two lanes I think are a lot more balanced. Mid lane's going to be a huge skill matchup. I would slightly favor the Victor, except that it's Sir Zepri's Corki. And we've seen the Corki before. Knows how to play it very, very well, and has enough escapes that it should be a handshake lane. And so the other thing then I'm looking at is jungle to affect, because last game when Extorted got ahead, it wasn't because Extorted outlaned necessarily. A lot of it had to do with Arcanos on that Olaf able to come in and punish that Silas repeatedly.
Yep. Well, all eyes on the Beef Boys in the top side, of course. That is where our eyes will be drawn here in the first early stages, but of course can't count out the mid jungle and lastly the bot lane. So we are going to go to a very short break. We'll be right back with game number 3 between Akuma Katanas and Nightless Void. And we are off to the races for the final match of the evening. Winner of this game determines who is going to move on in the playoffs and whose postseason dreams die here. Game number 1, of course, went Nightless Void's way, but Akuma Katanas struck back in extremely seamless fashion. In game number 2, only a couple hiccups and deaths along the way, but my gosh, did they look clean.
4 deaths the entire game. They had 20 something kills, didn't lose a turret, didn't lose a single major objective, and all of that started at level 1 with that Olaf invade against the Morgana that Drops played last game. This time we won't be seeing that. Much safer start here. Winner takes all, and neither team really want to throw it all at a level 1.
Yeah, no one wants to, and I mean, this is kind of what I love to expect to see. It's either it's you either pick to be super passive or you pick to be super aggressive. That's kind of how I feel teams end up feeling if one team were down a significant amount, usually in best of 5s. But in a game 3 where it's just a best of 1, I see them playing it very monotone, which is good and bad.
Well, I in this particular case, they're kind of going passive-ish. And as I say that, we watch the top backing each other. I mean, it's not exactly 2 fat tanks, and Scion at level 1 doesn't have that much health, so definitely punishable. As expected, Hybrid Supreme seems to be winning those and has, frankly, better regeneration as well. So not a great start for the side of Toei.
Yep, not exactly the best, and he actually gets drawn right back in. This is, oh my lord.
Oh, Toei can't stay in lane. You're not safe here. This wave will crash, and I'm kind of scared because if Toy steps up a little prematurely and gets grabbed, he's dead under turret.
Oh yeah, he's gonna flash forward. Hybrid, you can't do it. He goes down, but that is the most man mode I've ever seen a set go.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, that is crazy man mode right there. I mean, you said it, teams will either play to be either very passive or they'll play kind of aggressive. We were wrong. This ain't a passive game. Hybrid's gonna speed things up here. That's it. Giving a kill back over to Toy, not ideal. And at the end of the day, things are pretty even. Toy did manage to get some of that CS before going down, so it's not as if the entire wave was denied.
Yeah. Not like the entire wave was denied, but still we can see obviously Hybrid going for that bruiser build, going for that 1v1, right? Probably going to be the Bork straight out of the gate. We saw what he could do last game, which is on par with Sir Zepri did game number 1. We might see it again. Here we go though. Binding going in from the Fog of War, can't find any mark. Toy going ahead and soaking up some aggression on the top side. So that is going to be the junglers both making their appearances right on time.
Drops, I feel like for the side of Nightless Void, they kind of won out that trade a little bit better there. Lagoat and Soli having to burn basically all their pots in the inventory to stay alive. Soli still has 1 more left. Whereas top side, I think Toy's spider senses were tingling. The wave was pushing out, did just back off really well. Wave is pushing out though, and notice the lack of wards top side. Arcanos could potentially look to regank that top lane.
Could look to regank. And honestly, Arcano's getting a lot of CS as well, picking up a lot of those extra camps. So Drops is going to be very sad and surprised to see most of the top lane is completely gone. I want to say most. I think that's going to be all of it.
I mean, Drops did get to raid the bot side, so this kind of evens out here. It became a little bit vertical in terms of jungling. Oh, okay, Arcanos looking to try and sneak from behind. That's not going to work when there's huge wave pushing out. Would have been better to go from the lane, but this time Toy's trinket does respawn. We'll be able to spot this out and should be a-okay, nice and safe here.
Toy? Okay, comms might have gone through. I didn't see any pings go down, so I was actually very worried and interested if Drops and Arcanos had actually met. But Toys does play back. Toys does play back.
Really no need to do that. And the moment Drops went towards that Wolf's Pit as well, Drops kind of knew that, okay, it's vertical jungle. They cleared my top side here. There's no point being there. Now Dragon is up and available for both teams. Extorted teleporting back to lane, and Sirzipi had already done the same here. So both teams really should be ready for this. Arcanos running down as well. Are we going to see our first big fight of the game here?
Well, even if it's not a large fight, it's going to be a very entertaining one. Hopefully between the two junglers. First plate actually goes down to Wake and Tick. Toy going ahead and trying to whack back, but Dragon gonna go ahead and be started up by the side of Nightless Void as they have full control over the mid and bot.
I'd love to be a fly in the Discord rooms of these teams because no pings coming down to Dragons. Did the Katanas not know it was being done when they saw Wake and take back off, or did they just make the call that, hey, we don't want to fight this, we're being shoved back? Because I'm looking at the ADCs, the bot lane. Lagod is actually a level up right now. In the jungle, I think Diana would have been fine, but Sazipri was shoving up the mid lane, so maybe they just felt like their mid lane couldn't rotate quick enough, and they're just letting Arcanos farm instead.
And Toy, though, eating poke every single time, which I feel is just kind of rough. He has so far gotten hooked every single time by that pole.
I think that's more props to Hybrid for knowing exactly the range of it here. Huge wave crashing into the turret, and Toys is going to be okay with this. Like I said, Toys is not expected to win the lane, has not been expected to win the lane this entire series. And Sion doesn't need to be up a whole bunch of CS, will still be relevant, will infinitely scale in terms of that health as well here. So what happens in the lane interests me a lot less in the top side than what's going to be in the fights. How does that showstopper go down? And can the unstoppable onslaught be the initiate that Nightless Void might need later on?
That's what we're hoping for, and of course what the team is hoping for. But item wise, Drops went ahead, picked up those Sorc shoes very early, which is pretty standard. Wake eats a zap to the face. That's gonna be solely coming in and saying, yeah, I'm still here, don't worry, I haven't left anywhere just yet. Mid lane though might be the point of aggression as Sir Zipri realizes that Arcanos is off on the edge and quickly Valkyrie's away.
My problem with the Corki mid lane gank right now. If there's flash up, Sir Zipri shouldn't be able to die. Technically, you've got flash, you've got Valkyrie, you're safe. Extorted doesn't have that safety, and I'm still waiting for Drops to get a good binding off, because theoretically, if a binding comes mid or bot, that should be a kill.
Yeah, should be a kill as a jump in forces Extorted's flash. A little bit of a harsh dance. Now mid lane is very, very open as Sir Zipri might have the mid lane advantage.
That's one flash down. You can look there. Drops hitting top. I don't know if you've got enough damage to kill Hybrid.
Yeah, might not, but that's going to be the unstoppable onslaught used. Binding lands on a minion. Level 6 is up, but that's going to be the showstopper. Bring it right down. Hybrid gets over the wall and is able to stay alive. The ganks are yielding results, but so far, not the kills.
Just as I call for Drops to be more proactive, that's exactly what he does. That's 2 flashes blown out in the solo lanes. You can just rinse and repeat, go back to those lanes. You've got 5 minutes. You can go back multiple times. Now TP used by Hybrid here. If you get a kill on Hybrid, Hybrid's going to be so far behind.
Yeah, Hybrid is at least holding the wave down, but he's still going to go in on Toy. Toy gets dragged in. A couple punches go down. Remember, no ultimates available for either of these guys. Damage has been done. Now Drops in a rough spot. He is going to get a little bit collapsed on, but the binding lands. No shield is up. Extorted and Arcanos are there. And the flash 2-man ultimate. Moonlight is going to claim the kill. Extorted picks up his first of the game.
Toy did it. If they can hold this, it's worth right now. The Eye of the Herald has not been picked up.
Ooh, that's going to be Arcanos getting hit on the pool. He's going to try and run for his life. By the shield. No, a binding right away. Drops is able to turn it around. So a little bit of jungle on jungle action.
Eye of the Herald. Toys and Drops managed to stall it long enough. Bot side. Oh.
Yeah, this is going to be painful, though. Tick having to burn the ultimate on himself. And look, Go James survived. That's going to be the killer instinct. Never mind, I eat my own words. Wake OG takes his first kill as well.
Going the wrong direction, though. Solely here. No minions.
Oh, headbutt right back into the hole. Solely, that's just mean.
Clean. You take that back, Orbital. Just revenge for Lagod there. Trades across the board, 1 for 1 or 2 for 2 on both sides here. And frankly, Nightless Void looking much better. It feels like if you don't set them back behind at that level 1 here, they do know how to play the game out. And I had been saying that Drops, I want to see some proactive action, look for some ganks here. The shoe's a bit on the other foot right now. Arcanos has not really been able to impact the lanes quite as much, and with Toys flash down from that last fight, with Tick's flash down in the bot lane, the side lanes are viable right now for Arcanos to look to gank. Mid lane Sazipri still a little bit slippery, but it doesn't hurt if you're just transitioning between top and bot.
And that moonfall we saw was able to do a decent amount. Solely now dodging down, gets another knock up, and well played on that point. Solely and Legoat James danced that very well, and I have to say, the amount of CC on this bottom side is also making it very difficult for drops to help gain an upper hand for this upcoming Drake.
That positioning has been really, really solid in terms of dodging those bindings. But once again, look at who's there first. It's drops there. Arcanos actually gets spotted out, rotating through the mid lane. So again, it's a free Drake being given over the way of Nightless Void right now. And Arcanos needs to find something on the other side of the map. They already kind of lost the Herald. Herald won't be spawning for a while here. So go top Arcanos.
This is kind of the issue that we saw back in game number 1, right? Just a little bit slow on the rotates and not really helping out the lanes as much as we would hope on a jungler that you would want to see be a little bit more aggressive, right? We saw the potential that he had with that moonfall, with that jump in, and so far he's just opted to keep farming up on a jungler, which I don't think you should hard farm on, if that makes sense. However, this is going to be Toy finally getting aggressed on Arcanos. You were talking about it. There's gonna be a jump in, very quick use of the double ultimates, and Arcanos goes ahead and grabs that kill.
Green drops just here to kind of soak that wave there, and that's exactly what you wanted to see from this Diana. Now, Orbital, I want to go back to the point about Diana not hard farming here. So Diana can hard farm. She scales actually really well into the late game. If she ever gets into the backline, if she gets Moonfall onto Zerzipri and Wake, the fight's over. So it's okay. The issue is that it's not optimal. Diana can start ganking really early, pre-6. Now that the engage has been shifted off the R and to her E instead, and the Moonfall is just kind of big burst damage, her ganks are very, very strong in the early phases against squishy targets like that Kai'Sa, like that Lulu. And normally it wouldn't be great against a Scion, but Hybrid's been constantly just hammering away at toys.
Yeah, and I mean, Toy has done his best, I feel. Well, maybe not the best, but done decently, right? 3 deaths in, still only 30 CS down, and the tower has not taken that much pain. I give him props in a matchup that he was obviously on the lower end of, right? We talked about, the set was kind of blind picked this, or not the set, the Scion was blind picked. The set very much on the back foot, and he is trying his best. Went ahead, picked up the Thornmail, or Bramble Vest, I'm very sorry. You can see the Bork should be completed on this back, I think, by Hybrid, if he decides to recall. Don't know if he actually will. But, all in all, Toy, once again, just trying to do the best that he can.
Is the gap that's starting to form on this top side of the map. Both Hybrid Supreme and Arcanos, if we toggle the gold, are roughly just under about 1,000 ahead of their counterparts here. And that does mean that there's no prio for this second Herald. If they choose to lane swap, it's going to be really, really rough as well. And the bot side of the map, Zerzipri, Wake and Tick are not finding an advantage on the bot side. Yes, you're securing Drakes, but the next Drake, if it's a 5v5, that gold difference is going to start really showing itself.
It's really going to start hurting here. And of course, the teleports should all be available as well, except for Toy. Toy will not have his for the upcoming Drake, which
he's got ult.
Definitely stings. That's going to be... Oh, Hybrid goes, oh, that's someone there. That's going to be the... Oh. Okay, Unbreakable will use early. Solely a little bit scared of what could have come out.
Not sure what's going on this bot side. There's been a lot of kind of walking around poking at each other here, and having that ult down is pretty significant here. Thankfully, Dragon's not coming up for 2 minutes, so Unbreakable will be up for that top side.
Oh my gosh. That is I don't know what they're hoping to accomplish. Like, in all honesty, I don't think either of them would have won, and yet Hybrid straight up said, yeah, I'll take that fight.
I actually like it that Hybrid's the one kind of forcing those a little bit.
Oh.
Slowly. Okay, so yeah, actually, hold on. They're going for bot side. They're going to keep going.
Yeah, they're gonna try and go flash forward into the Soul Shackles. Legoat James can't get away from that root. Arcanos is gonna try his best to follow up, but just really can't find it. The Moonfall didn't do too much, and the Polymorph is so good. Wake is woke. That's gonna be 2 kills, moving it to 4-1 on Wake.
We now got Woke AG. Is that where we're at? Wake is woke. Top side tower did go down. First start going to the Akuma Katanas, but soon to be answered bot lane. And we're seeing Zerzipri start to rotate out a little bit. So Hybrid no longer safe in this extended lane here. In fact, I'd like to see them rotate down and contest this Drake that's coming up in about 40 seconds.
You would hope so, but of course, with the lane splitting open, you have to be a little bit on the lookout for what's to come, right? Hybrid has played super aggressive. He is now level 11, I believe, second highest on the game, aside from Sir Zepri. But a level 2 showstopper is ridiculous. If you are not careful and you all clump up, that is at least a fourth to a third of your HP just gone.
The problem, though, for the Akuma Katanas is that, sure, your top's really far ahead, but after that last fight, Wake is now 4-1 here, has the Kraken Slayer completed. And so if they do choose to fight, if they cannot find Wake, and Sir Zepri also has the package, if they can't find Wake and Sir Zepri, the next fight kind of gets dicey here for them because Extorted and Legoat aren't quite as strong yet. They haven't hit their power spikes.
Yeah, package is up, like you said, so this is going to be a 4-1 pinch. No flash on Arcanos, and they're gonna go ahead and pop Toy in, but they're gonna turn it straight onto Hybrid, who is just gone. Toy is still alive. He's gonna turn around, get the ultimate off onto Legoat. He is gonna be stunned up. They're gonna keep going on this fight. Chaos Storm does nothing. Solely is gonna tank as much as he can. That was, I think, a killer instinct straight to the Dragon Pit as Wake solos out the enemy jungler. Nightless Void show up huge and claim their third dragon of the game.
Overall, I said that if I'm Hybrid, I'm willing to trade my ult for Toys any day of the week here. It's perfectly fine because without that ult, they don't have the engage there. Hybrid coming in the back end, that's not the flank threat that you need. It's Arcanos with that Moonfall. If that had been Arcanos finding the back line, I think you see Nightless Void a lot more scared. But Set going in, kind of whipped everything there, and just the sheer amount of damage that the backline could pump down absolutely squished that Set before the fight kicked off.
It's not just Set collapsing, it's Set collapsing on vision, right? He was spotted so early on. Now Sir Zepri is gonna get ulted on the tower, actually gonna draw 2 in. Good flash out by both of them, and that is gonna be Hybrid trying to make some plays.
2-for-1 there, but we've seen the flashes being burnt quite often without the punishing. When drops burnt Hybrids and Extorted's flash, we didn't see the repeat gank. Arcanos only ganked once during the entire duration where Toy's flash was down here. So despite the flashes going down, I'm not too worried, especially for Sir Zepri, who still has that Valkyrie. And because Tick is probably not going to be the primary target of these engages here, it's okay. As long as they group up, they're fine.
As long as they group up, they'll be okay. And at this point, with no real objectives to talk about, we can actually take a look at the gold differences and the item differences. Mid lane, we see 2 completed legendaries versus no mythics on the side of Extorted. In the ADC role, we do see 1.5 versus 1. Hybrid now has to burn the flash as drops. Got a little bit of a drop on him.
Okay, was picked up by the side of Akuma Katanas, and they're dropping it almost immediately into the mid lane here with the Jinx, with the numbers advantage. Should be an easy turret take here, but drops coming in the back. Can they find anything here?
Well, Toy says he can. He's going to go ahead, pop the unstoppable onslaught, misses solely by a hair. Could have ended very, very differently. Solely could have been beef on the wall.
Beef patty right there, just squished round up.
Fishing for any sort of a joke, and it's either working very well or failing very well.
I guess I'm kind of hungry right now. So you talk about beef.
This series has been going on for a very long time. I do agree we might be very hungry. Solely is actually going to get jumped on. That's the unbreakable we'll use, and just barely survives. If he didn't use that, I think the Kai'Sa would have had the kill.
You think if Wake OG just like heals to dash through, or just forces that over, they get it. But it's fine, it's good. You don't get the kill, you still answer the turrets here, and you're neck to neck between these teams right now. We've yet to really see Akumas get that huge 5v5 that they want. Whoosh.
Oh my gosh, drops, just runs right by everything, forces the stopwatch out, but now they're gonna call the TP in. Hybrid says he really wants to fight this. It's gonna be the polymorph, and Toy gonna go ahead and TP in. No dragging yet for 1:42, so that is a TP advantage that will be held by Akuma Katanas.
actually a pretty important TP, because if Toy got to continue pushing that top side, that top lane turret gets absolutely punished. There was nobody on the side of Akuma who would probably have gone to deal with that there, and they don't burn a single teleport to match right now. Baron is up, Dragon coming up in about a minute 20 here, and I want to see Akumas take advantage of their available teleports here. I like that they've sent Hybrid top lane to get that push, but Sir Zipri's TP is about to come up, and they've already sent Sir Zipri, who's been handling Hybrid in that 1v1 for the last couple of minutes.
He's been the one to hopefully make a play. And I mean, again, last time we saw him kind of kick off around the mid game. Right now, we're about 21 minutes. This should be the time that he starts kicking off, right? Taking a look at his items, looks like he's trying to build into that Immortal Shield bow. We'll see if he can actually pull it off. It's going to be red buff handed over to Wake's side, and Dragon up in 40 minutes. I'm expecting a very heavy brawl. Toy now. Yeah, Toy has to dive right back out and actually got away with it. That is I'm a little bit surprised that he was able to stave off that much damage.
I mean, here's the thing. The only way you stop that sound out is somebody body blocks it. And because you're under turret, whoever body blocks it is kind of screwed, because you're going to get knocked up multiple times. And Sion just has more health than you. And that is a big ult taken out. So now, Nightless Void, they've got to play defensively. They just have to keep poking, and then they've got to wait for the engage.
Oh my gosh, in they go. Wake forces a flash, and he'll go. You were talking about big ultimates. I say big summoners being burned. That's going to be solely having to burn the unstoppable, unbreakable will as well. These guys are trading back skills and summoners like they're freaking candy. Oh, and rocket! Sir Zipri, I was wondering when he was going to kick off. He kicks off at just the right time, uses the package over the wall, gets extorted as well. It's going to pick up Hybrid. What is this? I don't know. Zipri picks up a quadra kill. Oh my lord. Boy, that is a statement play from the Corky man himself.
You get the skill bow for Orbital. You just package in, right? That's how it works. I mean, he just went in 1v3, and you're a carry. You're squishy. You should not be allowed to survive that. But he wins that. They get Dragon, they get an ace, and they get Baron as well. Nothing Soli can do, and it's flashbacks. You said it was going to be big, Orbital. You called it perfectly.
I wish we could do replays here. I wish we could have replayed that, because I just want to point out he did that on full health targets. They were all full health targets, and he went in and just decimated them. A huge factor is I don't think anyone expected him to do that. No one was ready for him.
Price factor. They'll never see it coming. I mean, I certainly didn't expect it coming. I was thinking, okay, so Zipri is probably going to go try and poke out. Where's the follow-up? No follow-up necessary. Was able to pull it off themselves. And the gold lead's getting pretty big now. It's 5K here, and that's without the Baron power play that should be coming in. There's about 2.5 minutes right now where Nightless Void get to push in, get to take turrets here, and Akuma Katana just kind of have to take it. It's the same situation. They've got the better poke.
Now Arcanos is going to drop out on the binding, drops is running straight into the enemy team. This is not a good position for him to be in, but gets everyone. That's the Moonfall grab at 3, gets a good damage back, and that's the jungler downstairs. Zipri goes directly over the wall. I'm not sure if that's where he wants to be, but he is shredding health bars. That's a loop keeping him alive, and they turn around in unspeakable fashion. Extorted is going to go very, very low. Toy, for some reason, runs his head into a wall, but it doesn't matter as they take 2. Nightless Void make the best out of a bad situation, are going to get so much of Akuma Katana's base.
Orbital, why are you doubting Sir Zipri, man? He went in 1v without Immortal Shield Bow. You think he's scared of 4 people now that he's got the Shield Bow? No, he will turn it around, and look how healthy he is. He got out that fight with 2/3 health, and now he's full health and pushing.
Immortal Shield Bow, level 16. Nothing scares him. This is the red Baron of the Rift. This is exactly what you want from your Corki, and not just that. In this game, it's not drops that's helping carry. It's the other ADC. Wake is 8-1-2. The man has flown under the radar, it feels like, but has gotten so many clean kills and has been such a huge threat.
This radar he didn't fly under was Sir Zipri. He stole the penta from Sir Zipri at the Dragon. But yes, no, Wake has been a huge threat, and Arcanos has actually been getting really good flanks off into the backline, has been getting, 3-4 man moonfalls off. The problem is that they're not going down. And with the shielding that they're putting down, you can't burst down Wake. You don't want to be focusing drops. You don't want to be focusing tick. And that's how Wake's been picking up a lot of these kills here. And one of the main reasons as well why Sir Zipri has been largely unchallenged for the most part. They don't quite have enough burst, and Legault just simply isn't there yet.
Oh, well, this is Toy once again getting jumped on, you know, rinse and repeat over and over again, but this time Toy is so much stronger. He is tanking all of the damage. The Chaos Storm does 9-0. Arcanos continuously flashes forward. He gets a half semi-charge off. He's just going to take this out. He almost picks up Arcanos, who is going to quickly run for his life. Oh, my lord. And in the meantime, they just push in top. Nightless go, yeah, thanks for the tower.
That's a scary thing, Orbital. Toys did, and it doesn't even matter. Akuma Katana is still kind of in the team. They're getting poked down, and we've already seen the last couple of times, even if Toys is not there, they're okay. They've got enough damage to burst down Arcanos, and Moonfall already used as well. There's no reply, and I'd trade Toys for a turret any day.
Not just any day. Like, he is 1-5-5. This man has been messed with the entire time. One might say he's been toyed with the whole time, and finally he is getting some revenge, right? That draw of about 4 members to the bot side has allowed his team to gain so much traction in the top side. That is the second to last outer tower that has been burned, and in time for this upcoming Drake in a minute 30, right? Very well timed, as we now see Arcanos going ahead and bouncing his way right back into the mid lane. But again, this is so good, and that's going to be just shy, and it's sorted. He's still dead.
You don't walk out of that one. Oh, but I do also want to point out that this Drake in a minute and 30 is not just any Drake. It's Elder. We kind of brushed over the fact that Mountain Soul was being taken because, frankly, it was the fight that was more exciting. But this Drake, this we will not brush over because they're already winning. If they get their hands on Elder right now, they just dominate. That's an open inhib in the mid lane that you cannot defend. And if you try and defend any of the turrets, I feel like the poke from Zipri might pop you down. But it's also an opportunity for the Katanas, because if they manage to steal that, they keep themselves in the game, because even if you're very far ahead, you still got to be careful of Elder buff.
Still gotta be careful. Last outer down, 7 towers to 2, and I believe an 8k lead. That's gonna be a binding on Arcanos. Oh. It's game 1 all over again, as Diana is caught, is able to dance out, gets a little bit, but nope. Can't really dodge out of a 4-man pinch. Jungler down for Akuma Katanas in a very, very crucial Elder Dragon.
Yep. You just can't fight it at this point. And you've got to be so careful when you're behind, when you've lost all your inner turrets here. Stepping outside your base is dangerous. If you don't have the vision, you can't do it. And it doesn't look like there's a huge hole in the vision net, but that particular junction where Arcanos got caught, you just could not see them coming in from lane or from river, and that turned out to be deadly here. So now, Katanas, you've got to surrender the Elder buff. You've got to just kind of play base defense, and with Baron coming up in 30 seconds, Nightless Void can just take both and then push in, and there's really nothing you can do.
I mean, this is the last chapter of the series is being written, right? Like, this is Nightless Void going for the jugular slowly and painfully. This is, I applaud them for playing it so cleanly after game number 2, right? Where after a game like that, I sometimes feel like it's very difficult to come back on because of how clean it was, right? You just look at it and you go, what do we do to come back in it, right? And that's just the big question mark. Now double buffed up. It's gonna be a jump in flash out Arcanos. He just came back up from death and immediately is right back down. I don't even think there was 20 seconds between that.
I just love the way the two ADCs are the initiations here. It's like, Toy, initiation? Nah, forget about that. So Zipri died 1v4, hold my beer. Wake just dies right. You've got beer and you've got Elder. There's really nothing to be scared of.
Toy literally ults in just to get closer and now found Hybrid. Oh my lord, that shield is the only thing that kept Hybrid alive. Top lane inhibitor is going to fall. I don't think anyone can contain this onslaught of power. Nightless Void lose game number 2, but are coming back with style in game 3. Morgana goes ahead, picks it up. Tick is gonna stay alive, one of the two members that has gotten away with a perfect game. Wake is going legendary. Arcanos is sitting inside of the fountain, praying no one hits him with a skill shot. Nexus towers fall as the Nexus will be soon to follow. Oh no, that's mean. Don't know. An ace to finish it off. Massive score lines across the board. Nightless Void taking it 2-1.
And shout out to Arcanos for donating that last kill there. You didn't have to do it, buddy, but you did, and I appreciate that. And you know what, Akuma Katanas, it's a rough way to end their season here. The last time we watched them at the beginning of season, they were really struggling. They seem to pull things together, but unfortunately just not enough here. And with that, the Akuma organization makes an early exit in the playoffs after winning it last season. And that's a lot of weight on Nightless Void's shoulders here. You've taken out the previous kings, or I guess the previous king's sister, brother, whatever. It's Mates who won it last time, and now you guys bear the burden of moving forward. But I want to shout out Serzipri as well, because that Corki might not have the highest KB, but it certainly feels like the MVP.
I mean, 6-0-10, game number 1, 13 kills in. You can't deny this man had a significant impact in this series, right? The Silas may have left a lot to be wanted, right? Just not exactly the best showing, but at the same time, this is a team that you feel has their ups and downs, and if you catch them on a high, you have to be very, very worried. I feel like we could see them continue this momentum, and if any team is to bear this weight of the invisible crown, Nightless Void just might be it. So as we do close out this broadcast, RMC, I want your thoughts here moving forward as teams finish up their plays, as people kind of tune into this one. I want to get your thoughts on who they should be watching out for. I know you were talking about Serzipri, but I mean, it feels like everyone played up to a certain level here in this series for Nightless Void.
Nightless Void isn't a team that's one-dimensional here, right? Like the fact that Wake OG actually ended up with more kills, more damage than Serzipri says a lot on this Kaisa, which I was already questioning in their draft because I was scared of their lack of physical damage in their profile. So in order, I'll say it's Serzipri, Drops, and Wake OG. That's who you got to watch out for in order.
Yeah, and you know, we even talked about it. They did this without their regular top laner, right? Toy is a sub. Toy is a replacement, and he did a very, very good job. Yes, 1, 5, and 7, but his tankiness, his resilience in the top lane to take so much pain and yet dish so much out later has to be commended. So I can't wait to see what they have for next time. They will go ahead and move on in the UML playoffs. With that, we will go ahead and close out our broadcast here. Once again, my name is Orbital, joined here by Random Minion Caster and Domcast on the production. Thank you so much for tuning in, and have a fantastic evening.